What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 111 arrived at the red line. No, the crew of Dean Riding are a group of monsters, they must not be underestimated. Bunye said with a serious expression. Before, Bunye just regarded the retrograde as a pirate group with great potential. But now he has changed this view, the retrograde is not a pirate group with great potential. It is a pirate group that surpasses the Locks pirate group, and can even be called a 723 monster with all members. After all, one Akunologia can be invincible under the joint offensive of the two of them. The other crew members, even if they are weak, are definitely not too weak to lose. Having dealt with too many things all year round has already made you delirious, Bunye. If that's the case, you should rest for a few more days. Five Elders' unsalty voice came from the opposite side. No, what I said is true, because Kong and I have already fought against you. One of the crew members, even if I and Kong join forces, can't win. Those guys are a bunch of real monsters. Bunner yelled. Kong on the side also interjected. Although all of this is hard to believe, what we say is the truth. Although it is difficult for them to admit that the people on the retrograde are a group of monsters beyond their ideas. But they have personally fought against Akunologia and Ace Kano. It is too clear that those guys are all demons with real strength. Bunye, Kong, do you know this kind of thing? If you lie, your marshal and admiral positions will be revoked by us. Five Elders said solemnly. Advertisement. I repeat, we're not lying, so brace yourself. They're going. Following Bunye's words, Five Elders hung up the phone bug in their hands. Watching the phone bug hang up, Bu Near frowned. Damn, these old bastards, do you really believe what we say? Our word has been delivered, no matter what, I believe they will take precautions against the retrograde. Next, we will return to the Holy Land Mariejois. Kong reminded. Although Kong knew very well, Five Elders was dubious about what he told Bunye. However, the cautious Five Elders will still take some precautions. In this case, they also need to quickly return to the Holy Land of Mariejois. Because, they are also going to face the retrograde. Kong spoke to Bunye at the nearby marine base, and they sent a fast-moving ship to pick them up and head to the Holy Land of Mariejois. On the other side, the Sanctuary of Mariejois, the highest sanctuary. Five Elders, who hung up the phone bug, turned his attention to several other people. I believe you guys have already heard what Bunye and Kong said in 1.4. What do you think of this? Although Bunye has a bit of a temper, we know his character very well. If not, he wouldn't have become the Marshal of Naval Headquarters, wouldn't he? A Five Elders expressed his opinion. You mean to say that what Bunye and Kong just said is true? 112 arrive at the red line below. Although they all believed in the character and behavior of Bunye and Kong. But, the remarks of the two of them were too shocking for them to believe. After all, a captain with a bounty of only 530 million Baileys has a captain who can compete with Kong Bunye, the two absolute top marines, and not fall behind. It's impossible to think of such a thing. Because even Locks can't do something like this. No, I can only call it dubious. After all, it is impossible for a crew member to fight against the two of them without losing the wind. However, at the very least, we still need to make some preparations. Guard against the sun. It's true, let's take precautions a little bit. After all, what the two of them said cannot be completely ignored. However, if what Kong and Bunye said is true, then how should we deal with it? One of the Five Elders suddenly spoke out. Hearing his remarks, the entire hall immediately fell into silence, and no one spoke. If what they said is true, then the retrograde may overthrow our world government in the future. A Five Elders said with a very solemn expression. A crew member who has the strength to fight against Kong and Bunye. This level of combat power, even if they take action personally, they may not be able to win it steadily. If this is the case, then their world government will face an enemy more terrifying than the Locks pirates. To overthrow our world government. I have never thought of such a thing in the 800 years since its establishment. Could it be that such a terrible enemy will be born in this era? No, the world government won't be overthrown, because there can't be the enemies that Kong and Bunye talk about. Even though I now regard the retrograde as a strong enemy, they can't overthrow us. Five Elders shook his head slightly. They are dubious about Kong and Bunye's words. Advertisement. The letter retrograde is a fearsome group of pirates. Believe it or not, a crew member of the retrograde has the strength to counter the cooperation of Kong and Bunye. After all, these remarks are too exaggerated, and he only thinks that after Bunye became the marshal, there has been a long backlog. So by saying these remarks, I want to scare them a little bit. It's meaningless for us to talk about it. Didn't that fellow Bunye say that? In less than 2 days, the retrograde will arrive at the Holy Land of Mariejois. Then we will know how strong they are. Makes sense. 2 days later, the retrograde, traveling through the Eternal Pointer, finally arrived at an island in 633 that is very close to the holy place Mariejois. It seems that we have arrived. Dean Riding stood at the bow and smiled slightly. It can be seen that at the end of the sea level, there is a huge red wall that fills their sight. That is the red line. And the Holy Land Mariejois is on the red line. Today, they are just one step away from the Holy Land of Mariejois. The timing is just right, I feel full of strength now. Ace Kano clenched his fist and smiled. Today's time is close to noon. It was only half an hour before noon. 113 The beginning of the attack on the Holy Land. Ask for flowers. As long as the time reaches noon, Ace Kano will usher in the strongest power of the day. That is the so-called invincible time. To be able to take action during the time period when he is most powerful is naturally most in line with Ace Kano's heart. Should we make a plan or something, Dean Riding? Senju Hashirama asked suddenly. Sailing through these days, Dean Riding also explained the power of world government to them one by one. After these few days of understanding, they naturally also learned how many strong people there are in the Holy Land Mariejois, and how dangerous it is. It's not necessary, because I think the world government has already guarded against us. Even if we make a plan, it's useless. All we need to do is to go up and destroy it. Of course, it would be best if we didn't encounter any enemies after going through a lot of destruction, and we'll retreat straight away after we've accomplished our goal, Dean Riding said. Still that sentence, if possible. Dean Riding just wants to wreak havoc on the Holy Land of Mariejois, not the dangerous five elders. It's too boring to retreat without encountering the enemy, isn't it, Dean Riding? Uranu's Cipher said. Well, what I just said is just the most ideal situation, but I think it's impossible not to encounter enemies, so you can use your strength on it to your heart's content. Dean Riding laughed. Naturally, he knew very well that whether it was Ace Kano or the other crew members, they were full of fighting spirit at this time. In that case, let's make a big fuss in the Holy Land Mariejois. Ace Kano said vigorously. Retrograde, set sail. With a command from Dean Riding, the retrograde began to leave the sea, flew towards the sky, and then headed towards Luchong, the big red earth. At this time, many marine generals stationed below the red line also noticed the high-altitude retrograde. Advertisement. Look, you see, there's a ship flying up there. Am I dazzled? How can a ship fly? No, it's not an illusion, I saw it too, it's a ship flying. Wait, I seem to have seen this ship there before. This is Dean Riding's retrograde. What, is this Dean Riding's boat? Looks like they're going up the red line. Are you kidding? Above the red line is the Holy Land Mariejois, how dare they go there? These guys are pirates. Looking at the huge battleship high in the sky, the marine generals talked a lot, and they were all shocked. You know, above the red line is the headquarters of the world government. And Dean Riding is a pirate. Which pirate dare to make such a crazy move? Isn't this looking for death? Hurry up, report this news to the people above, Dean Riding is here. On the other side, on the retrograde. With the continuous flight of the boat, everyone also came to the top of the red line, Li Lahao. Is this the Holy Land Mariejois? It's much more magnificent than I imagined. Dean Riding stood at the bow, looking at everything in front of him, and couldn't help but click his tongue. It is indeed the place where some nobles in the world live. At a glance, it is full of luxurious and prosperous buildings, which are expensive. I really envy those races called celestial dragons who can live in this kind of place. Tuor put his hands on his face and said, 114 What celestial dragons? Facing the eyes, such a luxurious, prosperous, and beautiful building. Toller even has the idea of living here. After all, as a woman, who is not interested in beautiful things? But it's a pity that such a good place has been polluted by a group of bastards called celestial dragons. Senju Hashirama couldn't help but sigh. I can't help being a little excited when I think about what we are going to do next, which is to destroy these buildings. Uranu's Cipher smiled evilly. Then let's start. This time, there is no plan for the battle plan. Destroy everything in front of you and let these fraudsters feel the pain. Dean Swiss Dewey said. To say that in this world, the person Dean Riding hates the most is the celestial dragons. Now that there is a chance to destroy the place where the celestial dragons live, Do60 Riding will naturally not be soft-hearted. As Dean Riding's words fell, many crew members jumped off the retrograde and came to the ground. At this time, the retrograde also returned from the shape of the ship to the appearance of Yuji. Dust slash. Wood style. Wood dragon technique. The roar of the black dragon. Black Sero. The moment everyone landed on the ground, they directly used their abilities, and saw several terrifying forces gathered together. It rushed towards the building in a mighty way, and the ground along the way was easily disintegrated and torn like paper, forming a long chasm. Several terrifying forces, with the power to overwhelm mountains and destroy everything, smashed into the building in front of them in the blink of an eye. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Accompanied by a monstrous bang, a huge gray mushroom cloud appeared in the center of the city, transpiring to high altitude. Advertisement. Countless buildings fell apart in this instant, and countless rubble flew high into the sky, creating a doomsday-like scene. It can be seen that a huge deep pit has appeared in the center of the city, and smoke is constantly being raised. And the buildings in the area with a radius of hundreds of meters were also directly destroyed into ruins by the abilities released by several people. Looking at the ruins in front of them, no one would have guessed that there were badge cities built of exquisite buildings a few seconds ago. But in a blink of an eye, ruins that were so dilapidated that they could no longer be dilapidated were formed. You know, among these buildings, the great Emperor Celestial Dragons lived. However, he looked at the ruins in front of him. It is conceivable how many celestial dragons were killed by these abilities released by several people in a very short period of time. It looks much more pleasing to the eye. Dean Riding laughed. What celestial dragons? What world government? What marine? Annoyed me, threatened me, and want to be safe. Dean Riding has almost no interest in the so-called world domination. But that doesn't mean he's a weak guy. No matter who offended him, he must take revenge. It's a nice sight. Ulquiorra smiled slightly. As this the so-called Holy Land Mariejois. We have made such a move, has no strong person appeared to stop us. Ace Kano glanced at the four directions and said indifferently. 111 Five elders appear. The moment Ace Kano's voice fell, there was a sound of footsteps in the distance. Tap tat tat. A large group of men with masks rushed out of the smoky and dark place. They are none other than the strongest shield of the world government Celestial Dragons, the CPO organization. And the leader is the captain of the CPO organization. Is it really here? The CPO captain stared indifferently at Dean Riding and others with his hands behind his back. Oh, the breath of these guys is really not weak. The deputy captain next to the CPO captain said. Due to the large number of pirates in the old era, plus the pirates are too crazy. Therefore, in order to better protect the rights and interests of celestial dragons, as well as life, their world government not only cultivated the captain of the CPO organization, but also the vice captain. In terms of strength, the two of them are not inferior to Marine Admiral. These guys are really a bunch of lunatics. As pirates, they dare to attack our holy place, Mariejois. The destruction caused by these people just now is estimated to have resulted in the death of thousands of celestial dragons. They cannot be allowed to leave here no matter what. Even the Lox pirates dare not step into our holy land Mariejois. The captain of this group of guys is just an ordinary pirate with a bounty of 530 million Baileys. How dare they make such crazy moves? Quote. From the time they stepped into this place, their death has been announced. The members of the CPO organization standing behind the two captains stared at them coldly. Advertisement. There are dozens of members in the CPO organization, and the strength of each of these dozens of members is not inferior to Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters. You know, there are only 18 Vice Admirals in Naval Headquarters. And in this holy land Mariejois, there are dozens of CPO organization members with the strength of Vice Admiral. Compared with New World's CPO tissue factory, the CPO tissue of the old era can truly be called the strongest shield of celestial dragons. Are there only two strong men in the so-called holy land Mariejois? Ace Kano's eyes were full of disdain. The only ones who can be seen by Ace Kano are the captain and vice captain of the CPO organization. As for the members of the CPO organization behind the two captains, he didn't pay attention at all. Suddenly there was a voice from a distance, and 5 old men with strong aura appeared in the realization of everyone. He. You two, you underestimate our world government too much. Is this the member of the retrograde that Kong and Bunye are talking about? It really has a good momentum. Point 0. As they said, these guys really attacked our holy place, Mariejois. I have forgotten when was the last time a powerful pirate stepped into our holy land Mariejois, 100 years ago. Or longer. Marines in this era are really incompetent. They have unintentionally allowed so many pirates to rise up. In the end, we have to do it ourselves. The 5 elders know the likes of Dean Riding and are likely to return. But at the beginning, they didn't plan to come, they just handed over the removal plan to the CPO organization. However, because Dean Riding and others set foot on the holy land of Mariejois, they made too much noise, resulting in the death of thousands of celestial dragons. Point 1125 elders appear, part 2. Facing the deaths of so many celestial dragons, they naturally couldn't sit still and plan to meet the retrograde in person. 5 elders. Staring at the 5 elders in front of him, Dean Riding frowned slightly. 5 elders are the top leaders of the world government, second only to I am in the shadows. Feeling the majestic aura of 5 elders like the sea, Dean Riding knew that the strength of 5 elders was definitely higher than that of Admiral 013. Otherwise, it is impossible for them to be favored by I am and be elected as the top leader of the world government. It's not easy for these 5 old guys. It seems that we had a good fight today. Senju Hashirama said excitedly. Although he hadn't fought against each other yet, he felt an unusually strong aura from the 5 old men in front of him. This breath is stronger than any pirate and marine he has ever seen in this world. Of course, this naturally excludes Dean Riding et al. After staying in Dora Vega for so long, I finally have the opportunity to show my talents. Ulquiorra smiled slightly. I didn't have fun with the marine guys before, and today I finally have the opportunity to have a good fight with the strong. Akunologia was equally excited. Holding the knife, 5 elders didn't act in a hurry, but set his sights on Dean Riding, and said indifferently, You are Dean Riding. You already know, why bother asking? He. I can see that your strength is not much higher than this group of crew members. I am curious, how did you manage to make these crew members obey your orders? They 5 elders have lived in this world for hundreds of years. It is natural to want to include it under the flag. Advertisement. The old man with the knife did not continue to ask about this matter, but instead focused on Akunologia and others. 0. Because of this, he could see at a glance that Dean Riding's strength was not superior to that of Akunologia and others. Although their group of 5 elders didn't think they would lose to Akunologia and others. Armed color, knowledge color, and conqueror's hockey have already reached the highest level. Similarly, because observation hockey is too powerful, they can feel the strength of the opponent at a glance. Whether it's Marine or your world government, they are all equally stupid. Why do you want to win us over as soon as we meet? Senju Hashirama said indifferently. Dean Riding's strength is not enough to surpass this group of crew, so why did this group of crew choose to follow him? Yes, therefore, speaking out to win over is also a necessary form for them. You know, this sea is respected by strength. However, looking at this group of strong men, they were naturally a little moved. The desire to fight is just one of our inner thoughts. Dean Riding is the person we admire and respect the most. Even if we give up the desire to fight, we will not betray Dean Riding. Ace Kano sneered. After all, what they promised to Akunologia and others will naturally come true. But that's what filled him with doubts. Maybe I have a special charm. Dean Riding joked to himself. I can see that you are all strong people who are eager to fight, but the people you follow are not enough to satisfy your desire. Why don't you join our world government and work for us? We will help you satisfy what you desire. Quote. Of course, even if Akunologia and others refuse, they will not have any loss. 113 Akunologia's black dragon form. I advise you to give up this stupid idea of wooing. Dean Riding is our captain and the only captain. Tushan Yaya crossed her hands under the bear and said coldly. It's really straightforward to refuse, but this is also what we expected. However, have you ever thought that stepping into the holy land of Mariejois today will be the last time you will see the rising sun? Dean Riding said calmly. Seeing the sun on the last day, this is about you. What a group of confident brats. That's true. Our world government has only been manipulating the sea behind our backs for so many years, so no one in this era has seen the strength of our world government. The blonde five elders said indifferently, with their hands behind their backs. On 10, let this group of brats see our world government can stand up to the capital of this world for 800 years. Five elders sneered on top of their heads. There is no need to talk about gossip, get rid of them. After the words fell, the five elders and the two captains of the CPO organization started to move at the same time, rushing towards Dean Riding and others. The same is true for all members of the CPO organization. One person, one opponent, just right. Akunologia laughed. 5 elders plus 2 captains of the CPO organization, that's exactly 7 people. On their side, Dean Riding, Akunologia, Ace Kano, Tushan Yaya, Ulquiorra Cipher, Senju Hashirama. There are also 7 people. As for the members of the CPO organization, Akunologia never paid attention to them at all. Because there are only these 7 people who can be called opponents. Dragon transformation. Akunologia let out a light slap, and his body began to grow rapidly in the next second. Advertisement. Dragon. Dragon. Does this guy even eat devil fruit? The moment his voice fell, Akunologia directly spit out the white energy fluctuations in his mouth. The aura of this black dragon is incomparably powerful, and only the devil fruit of the phantom beast class can have this level of aura. What a terrifying breath, this guy is a strong enemy. Get out of the way. The 5 elders overhead yelled hastily. Akunologia set his sights behind the members of the CPO organization. On him, he showed a terrifying posture. The moment the giant dragon appeared, it directly frightened the audience. Its incomparable aura seemed to have the power to destroy the world. The white energy fluctuated, squeezed the space, and smashed towards everyone with extremely destructive power. HMPH, it's just eating you demon's devil fruit, but don't forget that Lord 5 elders and the 2 captains have participated in this battle. We must win this battle. The moment this terrifying energy fluctuation appeared, it directly distorted the space. A phantom beast devil fruit. The blonde old man raised his eyebrows slightly. I didn't expect that Dean Riding's crew would actually eat the rarest phantom beast devil fruit in this sea. 123 inches then, let's clean up the miscellaneous soldiers a little bit. The teeth turned into sharp fangs, and the body grew extremely hard dragon scales. In less than a second, he transformed from a normal person into an extremely huge dragon that could block out the sun all day long. This is definitely not an ordinary zone devil fruit, at least it is of the Eudemon's level. I saw Akunologia flying in the air, opening his huge mouth, and a mass of white energy fluctuations condensed in his mouth in the next second. 11 for the power of the black dragon. Boom. Accompanied by the appearance of a white light filling the entire line of sight, the white energy wave fell down, directly covering the 5 elders and all members of the CPO organization. A sound that resounded through the sky, followed by a destructive force, set off a terrifying ripple that spread hundreds of meters away. The air is constantly vibrating, and the ground under the feet is constantly shaking. As if a major earthquake had occurred, half of the Holy Land Mariejois could clearly feel the shock. The dazzling white light slowly dissipated, and a terrifying giant pit appeared in front of Dean Riding. The huge pit was bottomless, and gray smoke was constantly rising. There are also flying gravel, slowly falling to the ground. Around the giant pit, there are still traces of charred black. Akunologia's blow, the formidable power can be seen from Madara. As the gray smoke dissipated slowly, dozens of members of the CPO organization were seen lying on the ground with conspicuous injuries and unconscious. After accepting it, Akunologia took a frontal blow, and these guys who fell to the ground would be seriously injured if they didn't die. Only a dozen or so powerful members of the CPO organization, as well as 2 captains, including 5 elders, could stand firm under this blow. This guy, what is going on, how can he be so strong? This guy, with only one blow, actually defeated dozens of our companions directly. He is a monster. Damn it, this B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* Advertisement. Asterisk at caret asterisk dollar asterisk caret. What a terrifying and powerful enemy we have faced today. To be honest, when I met Dean Writing and others for the first time, they never paid attention to them. After all, Dean Riding's bounty is only 530 million Baileys. And some of his crew members didn't even offer a bounty at all, but it was this pirate group that they had never looked down upon, and there was such a terrifying man as Akunologia. The power of one blow directly injured dozens of their companions, making them lose their combat effectiveness. How is it possible? How could this guy have such strength? The old man holding the first-generation Goosh, his pupils shrank violently, and stared at Akunologia. Although when they met for the first time, they felt a strong breath in Akunologia. But he never thought that Akunologia would possess such terrifying power. Under the blow just now, even though he had prepared in advance to cover armament hockey all over his body. But even so, there are still injuries on his body. You know, he has survived in this world for hundreds of years. Li Lijiao. In terms of strength, he has long surpassed Naval Headquarters Admiral. He even didn't pay much attention to the so-called locks. But he never expected that Akunologia would show a power that seems to surpass him. 115-7 verses. 7. Bunal and Kong, are they really not lying? The strength of the crew under Dean Riding has reached this level. The blonde old man frowned, looking at Akunologia solemnly. During the call 2 days ago, Bunnergan Kong had said, a crew member under Dean Riding's team, even if they work together, it will be difficult to take down. They didn't believe it at first, but after seeing Akunologia release such extremely destructive abilities, they had to believe it. Because the power of Akunologia has even surpassed their imagination. Today will be an uphill battle. As Bunye and Kong said, the people on the retrograde are all monsters. No, it's also possible that this guy is the real captain of this ship, and Dean Riding was just pushed out by him as a puppet. A five elders said suddenly. Akunologia's strength even surpassed their imagination. No matter how they think about it, they can't think of any reason for such a strong man to join Dean Riding's retrograde. The only explanation, and only this powerful super-standard monster, is the real behind-the-scenes captain of the 420 retrograde. And the reason why they have such guesses, such thoughts. That's because, in the world government, on the surface they are very prosperous. As the top leaders of the world government, they have the capital to control the world and influence the structure of the sea. But they are very clear that they are not the strongest, and there are real leaders above them, who are also above them. Treat them like puppets, I am. If you think about it this way, it makes it clear why this monster is just a crew member. The old man with a scar on his head agreed. So that's it. This guy is the strongest among these people. Although he is a very difficult existence, but, the others are definitely not our opponents. I will drag him, you take advantage of this time, get rid of the other 6 people and come to assist me when the time comes. The old man holding the first generation Goosh reminded. Together, our world government will win. Even though they have seen Akunologia's astonishing combat power, 5 elders still will not choose to back down. After all, this place is their BACB stronghold, the Holy Land Mariejois. No matter how powerful the enemy is, their purpose is definitely not to back down. Similarly, they don't think they will lose. Akunologia's strength is indeed beyond their imagination, but they don't believe that other people have such combat power. Following the 5 elders, they thought about the cause and effect, and they rushed towards Dean Riding and others again. As for Dean Riding and others, they are naturally ready to fight. Superior. Dean Riding gave an order, and the 6 crew members around him rushed towards 5 elders at the same time. Of course, among these 6 people, the retrograde is naturally not included. After all, the home field of the retrograde's battle is the sea, and if he fights in this place, he won't be able to play a big role. That being the case, Dean Riding hadn't planned to have her in the fight in the first place. Because, the 7 of them alone are enough to compete against this group of 5 elders and 2 CPD captains with admiral combat power. Advertisement. Just let me be your opponent, Dean Riding. An old man with a scar on his head stopped in front of Dean Riding and said indifferently. Of course, no problem. Dean Riding said calmly. Looking at the 5 elders in front of him, Enridon felt a lot of pressure from the bottom of his heart. It can be said that after living in this sea for so many years, this is the first time he encountered such an enemy that gave him a great sense of oppression. The 5 elders, after all, are the apparent supreme leaders of the world government. Scar, the aura emanating from 5 elders, let Dean Riding know that the other party was also a terrifying physique expert. Although I don't know whether it was you, the puppet captain, or the black dragon who proposed to attack the Holy Land Mariejois, but I can tell you clearly that this is the worst decision you have ever made in your life. Hell to regret it. The scarred old man moved his muscles and bones, and the next second he directly entered the preparations for the battle. I saw his footsteps trampling the ground hard, the terrifying force directly shattered the ground under his feet, and even more shattered gravel stirred in the air. His speed was like a ghost, caught in a violent air current, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of Dean Riding. Go to hell, the scarred old man roared, swung his fist that could cause a natural disaster, and smashed it at Dean Riding. The fist hadn't hit Dean Riding's body yet, but the space his fist passed through could be seen twisting immediately. The power of this kind of fist, even today's Garp can't do it. But, he never thought of it. Fist clashes, like the collision of nuclear bombs, immediately set off a terrifying air current, stirring up the sky. I've underestimated you a little bit. Can you block my punch? The scarred old man raised his brows slightly and stared at him in surprise. The real captain should be Akunologia. Among the previous guesses, they determined that Dean Riding was just the puppet captain of the retrograde. If you want to end the battle as soon as you come up, you underestimate me. At the very least, they used observation hockey to explore the power of detection, and the result they got was that Dean Riding was among the weak among this group of people. Dean Riding, who was one of the weakest among the 7, did not fall into the disadvantage by the pure physical collision with him. It is completely relying on the collision between pure bodies, but even so it still caused such amazing damage. The ground plane under the two of them was torn apart like soft tofu, forming large rift valleys. Boom. Logically speaking, as a puppet captain, Dean Rui should not be much stronger. The scarred old man still thinks too much if he wants to defeat him just by using such combat power. Dean Riding snorted coldly, and waved his fist accordingly, colliding directly with the scarred old man's fist. Begging to subscribe, begging to subscribe, begging to subscribe. I told you not to underestimate me, old man. Dean Riding snorted coldly. Although the punch of the scarred old man is extremely powerful, don't forget that Dean Rigong's physical skill assessment has reached super strength. Under this blow, neither of them used hockey's calendar area. 116 top combat power. It seems that we need to be more serious. The old man with the scar suddenly took a step back, and after that his aura rose extremely, directly reaching the peak level. Then the fist is directly covered with the top armament hockey, and the top conqueror's hockey. Let me show you the real power, brat. The scarred old man grinned. Armament hockey, although it is the most common hockey in New World. But, in today's world, there are very few people who can cultivate to the top level. Not because of anything else, but because the top armament hockey is extremely terrifying, not many people can cultivate to the highest level. And he has survived in this world for hundreds of years. He had cultivated to the highest level early on, and over the years, he has improved one after another. It can be said that the armament hockey of the scarred old man can't even compare with the current Lock X. As for Conqueror's hockey, he can cultivate to the top level entirely because of his current spirit, it's too scary. Let me see how long you can survive under my attack. The scarred old man rushed towards Dean Riding immediately after finishing his words. His current thinking is that he needs to get rid of Dean Riding quickly. After all, their enemy is not only Dean Riding alone. There are also men like Akunologia, who can feel great pressure even on him. So, now he has to deal with Dean Riding, and then join forces with the others to deal with Akunologia. Don't worry, I won't fall until you fall. Dean Riding said coldly. I saw that his fist and arm were also wrapped with armed color and Conqueror's hockey. Although, at present, the two-color hockey of Dean Riding has only reached the advanced level. There is still a long way to go before the top-level hockey of the scarred old man. But, don't forget, D'Enrui is a worker with a monster physique. Moreover, the assessment of the monster's physique has reached a super level. It can be said that in today's world, except Akunologia, people like Ace Kano are physically superior to him. Even the scarred old man in front of him who specializes in physical skills are not superior to him. Arrogant brat. After the scarred old man finished speaking, he once again had a more intense confrontation with Dean Riding. Boom boom boom. The fists of the two, like machine guns, collided continuously in a very short period of time. The speed is so fast that they even make the sound of piercing through the air continuously. Others can't see the speed of their punches clearly, they can only see a blurred shadow of the punches. Hey, is this guy really human? The confrontation between him and Master 5 Elders didn't come as a disadvantage. 5. Master 5 Elders, but our world government's strongest combat power, this guy's bounty in the sea is only 530 million Baileys, how can it be so big? Moreover, the most important thing is that this guy is still so young, which means that his talent has not yet reached its end, and he will only become stronger in the future. Now he has the strongest combat power to compete with our world government, and in the future what? How far will his strength reach? Quote. Damn it, what's going on with the people on the retrograde? After Master 5 Elders' speculation just now, the man who ate the devil fruit of the phantom beast is the real captain. It's fine if he has that kind of strength, but Dean Riding Captain Puppet, why do you have such strength? Advertisement. Will we be victorious today? On the side of the battle between the two, many members of the CPO organization were stunned. They originally planned to find a loophole in Dean Riding's battle with the scarred old man and launch a sneak attack. But seeing the scene in front of them, they realized that they couldn't even get close. Not only that, let alone getting close, even if they get too close, they will be forcibly thrown away by the violent force generated by the confrontation between the two. They joined the world government since childhood and were raised as celestial dragons' strongest shields. The concept that I have been exposed to since childhood is that the world government is absolutely invincible. Nobody can compete with world government. They have always believed in this concept, so they have been working for the world government. But today, their ideals have been shaken. Because on the sea, terrible monsters beyond their ideals appeared. While Dean Riding had a fierce confrontation with the scarred old man. Zero looking for flowers. On the other side, Senju Hashirama also started round after round of confrontation with the blonde old man. It's amazing strength, you guys are not weaker than me too much. The blonde old man stared at Senju Hashirama solemnly. When he first confronted Senju Hashirama, he was devout about quick wins. Want to get rid of Senju Hashirama in a very short time. But as the two experienced hundreds of rounds of confrontation, he found that no matter what kind of offensive he launched, he could not win Senju Hashirama. The opponent's strength completely exceeded his expectations. I should be the one to say this, your strength is not too weak to me. Senju Hashirama narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a relaxed expression. Are the people on the retrograde all arrogant guys like you? The blonde old man snorted coldly. 0. Well, I just told the truth. Senju Hashirama spread his hands. You know, Senju Hashirama is the ceiling-level combat power in the Hokage ninja world. With wood style in one hand and taijutsu in the other, he has almost conquered the entire ninja world. His strength is naturally extremely strong. The blonde old man, although he is also the ceiling-level combat power of this pirate world. But this level of combat power is still a little bit behind Senju Hashirama. I really don't know if you will have such an arrogant expression when you bow down at my feet. The blonde old man sneered. Then he took off the black suit on his body and exposed his upper body, showing his muscles full of scars, clear water chestnuts and full of strength. In my opinion, this so-called heinous era is just a joke, because the era I was in was even more dangerous than this era. But even so, I was also in that era. I experienced countless life and death battles, and finally climbed to the current position. You are very strong, but in my opinion, you are just a brat. This battle with you reminded me of the passion I felt when I confronted people in the past. Next, are you ready to lose? 117 Wood Style Wooden Golem Jutsu, for subscription. The blonde-haired old man's momentum rose rapidly, almost reaching the peak. That body full of muscles, scars, and almost no complete flesh and blood is extremely oppressive. In the era that once belonged to him, he was the strongest in the world. Now, after hundreds of years of training, one can imagine how terrifying his strength is. In the Senju Hashirama confrontation, he did not retain his strength though. But that's not all of his fighting power. Because, after all, he is in a high position, and he has the capital to influence the pattern of the sea with every word. Therefore, he has not experienced confrontation with others for a long time. However, the battle with Senju Hashirama allowed him to find the feeling of passion, the belief in fighting, and slowly regain the fighting experience of the year. Oh, it's interesting. Senju Hashirama smiled slightly. Ha ha ha, seeing that you are still so confident, I am looking forward to it more and more. It is time for you to bow down to 267, and beg me for forgiveness. The blonde-haired old man clenched his fists tightly, his muscles tensed, and the veins in his arms exploded. Then he wrapped a layer of top-notch armament haki and top-notch conqueror's haki. The footsteps hit the ground explosively, and every time he took a step, he moved forward a distance of tens of meters. At the same time, the ground trampled by his footsteps shattered directly, forming a not-so-shallow pit, and the gravel flew into the air. Wood style, wooden golem jutsu. Boom. Senju Hashirama put his palms together, and he quickly poured the chakra in his body into the ground under his feet, accompanied by a roar. The ground was torn apart, followed by a burst of smoke and dust, and then a huge wooden arrowhead exuding a terrifying aura appeared in front of the blonde old man. It can be seen that the wooden arrowhead is tens of meters tall, with a mouth full of fangs, not angry and majestic. And on his shoulders, there is a huge wooden dragon wrapped around it. Wooden golem jutsu, arguably one of Senju Hashirama's best abilities. The power of wooden golem jutsu is so terrifying that it can even compete with Uchiha Madara's full-body Susanoo. Exercising such an ability means that the current Senju Hashirama has entered a serious state. Devil fruit. The blonde old man frowned slightly, but he didn't take it too seriously, and continued to run towards Senju Hashirama. Has this guy also eaten devil fruit? Also, this guy's devil fruit doesn't look like an ordinary variety, otherwise it would be impossible to release such a terrifying wooden golem. This wooden golem exudes a strong aura, and none of the crew of the retrograde is really good. Let's go to help Master 5 Elders defeat this man. Although the members of the CPO organization were defeated by Akunologia in an instant, half of the members were defeated. But even so, there are still dozens left. The members of the remaining dozens of CPO organizations scattered. Use 5 people as a team, beside 5 elders and the 2 CPO captains, look for opportunities to assist. Now, in their view, is the opportunity to assist the 5 elders. Without hesitation, 5 members of the CPO organization, plus the blonde old man, rushed towards Senju Hashirama together. 6 people. Senju Hashirama glanced at the battlefield, but didn't pay attention to the 5 members of the CPO organization. Instead, he set his sights on the blonde old man who was about to arrive in front of him. With one thought, Senju Hashirama began to manipulate the wooden arrowhead, swinging his fist and hitting the blonde old man directly. In the end, it's just a giant made of wood. You are too stupid to use such an attack to fight me. The blonde old man sneered. Then clenched fist, will be covered with the top armed color and Conqueror's Haki's fist, directly collide with the wooden Lohan's fist. Armament Haki is the highest level, possessing the power of internal destruction. Advertisement. Even an incomparably hard diamond will suffer a lot of damage if it bears a punch covering the internal destructive force. What's more, the blonde old man's fist is still wrapped with the extremely destructive top conquerors. In his opinion, one of his punches is enough to shatter wooden golem's arm. Boom. The collision of the fists immediately set off a terrifying air current, like a berserk monster roaring in all directions, with ripples visible to the naked eye, agitating in all directions. Those members of the CPO organization who were about to get close to Senju Hashirama and others were directly blown away by this ripple. Damn it, are we too weak? We don't even have the qualifications to get close to him. The wooden golem released by this guy can block Lord 5 Elder's punch. What the hell is this? Damn it, even some cadres of the Locks pirates, I have the strength to fight. I didn't expect that I don't even have the qualifications to join the battle today. Is this the battle to occupy the top man in the world? But this guy is just a crew member on the retrograde. Their worldview today can be said to have been completely refreshed. They thought that Akunologia was the strongest man on the retrograde. No matter how strong other people are, they will not be so strong. 0. But, now their idea is directly erased. Because of the battle of this Senju Hashirama old man in front of them, they are not even qualified to intervene. The blonde old man is a well-deserved monster occupying the top of the world. Senju Hashirama can compete with such a man, there is no doubt that he is also a top powerhouse. D. The pupils of the blonde-haired old man shrank violently, and he looked at the huge sleepy man in front of him in surprise. He originally thought that this punch of his was enough to crush the wooden golem in front of him. But he never expected that the wooden arhat resisted his punch, and made him feel tremendous pressure. What happened to the man in front of me? Why does he have such fighting power? Could it be that the retrograde has more than just a behind-the-scenes captain like Akunologia? The man in front of me is the behind-the-scenes deputy captain on the retrograde. At this moment, the blonde old man's mind was in a mess. He couldn't understand why there were so many strong people on the little retrograde. Why would a pirate with a bounty of hundreds of millions of Baileys on the sea have such strength? There is such a strength to compete with him. Although he can hardly imagine. But the truth is right in front of his eyes, he's covered in armored colors and conqueror's hockey fists that not even a wooden arhat can break. This level of combat power really made him feel a little bit of fear. Senju Hashirama didn't care what the blonde old man thought. At this moment, I saw him 3.7 once again controlling the wood arhat to attack the blonde old man. Wooden arhat jumped up, swung his huge wooden fist and smashed down. $7. The eyes of the blonde-haired old man shrunk slightly, a little unbelievable. He obviously had such a huge body, but his agility and speed were not his weaknesses in the slightest. The blonde old man is not stupid, of course he will not fight recklessly with Senju Hashirama, all he has to do is to look for the weakness of wood arhat. At this moment, I saw his figure and his fast speed dodging to the side. Boom. Accompanied by a huge explosion, the ground and even the immediate surroundings instantly collapsed. The airflow mixed with sand and gravel spreads in all directions at an extremely fast speed. 118 Block It, Black Winged Demon. The blonde-haired old man narrowly avoided the blow in the end, looking at the scene in front of him with an ugly expression. What type of devil fruit ability does this guy have? The entire battlefield was completely pitted under Wooden Golem's punch. And this powerful wooden man is nothing more than a summoning thing summoned by Senju Hashirama. If this guy makes a shot himself, how strong is he capable of breaking out? The blonde-haired old man looked at Senju Hashirama who was standing in midair, and a look of shock flashed in his eyes. At this time, Senju Hashirama looked indifferent. You can't escape today, this island is destined to be your burial place. A thought moved in Senju Hashirama's mind, and then the huge wooden golem continued to rush towards the blonde old man. Every attack of the giant wooden man is accompanied by a large amount of energy aftermath spreading to the surroundings. 10. Under the action of the huge power, the blonde old man didn't dare to collide with the wooden man head-on, so he could only run away. Isn't this guy's match at all? I saw a solemn look flashed in the eyes of a bald old man wearing glasses. Clang. The next moment, the bald old man directly pulled out the long knife from his waist. From the appearance, it looked like the long-disappeared first-generation Goosh. Just when the bald old man was about to leap forward and join the battlefield, I saw an indifferent voice coming from the side. Your opponent is me. Weak old man, you really make me lose any interest in fighting. Then I saw Ulquiorra Cipher, who was wearing a white robe and a long knife on his waist, floating in the air, his eyes full of indifference. The location of Ulquiorra Cipher also completely blocked the only way for the bald old man to join the battlefield. The bald old man frowned tightly, and his gaze was directly fixed on the long knife at Ulquiorra Cipher's waist. Are you guys going to compete with me in knife skills? It has been many years since anyone dared to use a knife in front of me. The bald old man held the first-generation ghost tightly, and his whole body began to show a sharp aura. Wisps of sharp light appeared around the body of the bald old man. The 100 meters around the bald old man's body as the center also completely turned into a sharp magnetic field in an instant. At this time, Ulquiorra Cipher just pouted slightly, and then slowly pulled out the Zanpakuto in his hand. An interesting swordsman. Advertisement. Now you seem to have a few meanings. It's just too weak. Then, Ulquiorra Cipher directly opened his hands. Block it, Black Winged Demon. Then strands of black breath began to frantically rush out from Ulquiorra Cipher's body to the outside world. At the same time, a large number of black Reiatsu raindrops began to fall in midair. A large number of raindrops floated in midair, completely changing the celestial phenomena of the entire battlefield in an instant. And at this time, behind Ulquiorra Cipher's outstretched arms, a pair of black wings that covered the sky and the sun suddenly appeared. Coupled with the white robe on Ulquiorra Cipher's body and the double-horned armor that suddenly appeared on his head, a fierce aura rushed towards him. Ulquiorra Cipher directly raised her left hand, her long black nails looked extraordinarily bright under the sunlight. And I saw that the tear stains on this guy's eyes had begun to deepen and thicken. It's rare for this person to really fight once. Seeing the bald head should make him really want to fight. Seeing the bald head here, the old man's face was full of shock. Swish. How many tricks can you hold on to under my command? Moonlight sword. The moonlight sword held in his hand directly drew a cyan trail in midair. The bald 973 old man got observation haki, and could clearly perceive the terrifying energy contained in Ulquiorra Cipher's body, and a very dignified look appeared in his eyes. Dean Riding, who was in a combat state, also noticed Ulquiorra Cipher who had directly entered a state of Guiran, and a smile appeared on his face. The battle between the two is imminent. How can such a guy be unknown in the sea? Is it another special kind of phantom beast devil fruit? Boom, boom. The huge energy fluctuations from the distant battle scene also proved that Ulquiorra Cipher has really entered the fighting state at this moment. A thick cyan light gathered in Ulquiorra Cipher's right hand. In the end, the cyan light finally turned into a shining moonlight sword, which was directly held by Ulquiorra Cipher in his hand. And it's a flying phantom beast. The next moment, the black wings waved lightly, and Ulquiorra Cipher directly crushed the bald old man in front of him. 119 hidden strength. And under such circumstances, the old man holding the first generation Goosh was completely blocked by Ulquiorra Cipher directly. And the black dragon Akunologia on the other side also started to fire with full firepower, completely starting to act recklessly on the battlefield. Some weaklings, what qualifications do you have to prevent the retrograde from subverting the entire Holy Land Mariejois? Akunologia directly looked up to the sky and screamed. Roar. A huge roar of dragons resounded throughout the audience. As some world government members who survived on the battlefield, their legs suddenly became weak, and the weapons in their hands could not even be held firmly. Boom. Accompanied by dull sounds, a large number of weapons fell directly to the ground. Akunologia, who saw this scene, was even more excited. Turn to ashes. Dragon flame breath. Then the thick flame continued to brew crazily inside Akunologia's body. A large amount of flame breath poured directly from the inside of his body to the neck. Akunologia's neck completely turned red. But at this time, the faces of the 5 elders members who saw this scene changed drastically. Yasuki Masutani with a long beard burst out directly, wearing a black and blue suit, and his eyes were full of determination. With me here today, you don't want to intervene in other people's battles. 6 forms, Kong Razor. As soon as Masuya Yasuki made a move, he directly resorted to the Marine 6 styles that he personally improved. The whole body also completely turned into an afterimage, like a huge razor, heading directly towards Akunologia's body. Well done. The expression on Akunologia's face became even more excited when he saw it. Roar. A fiery dragon's breath shot out directly from the black dragon's big mouth. A large amount of flame breath directly pulled out a fiery red track in the midair, and crushed it directly in the direction of Yasuki Masutani. At this moment, 5 elders member Yasuki Masutani was shaking his long beard, and he rushed forward without hesitation. Advertisement. And a large amount of energy around his body has already gathered a crescent-shaped scimitar-shaped shock wave. The fiery dragon's breath collided directly with the shock wave. Boom. Accompanied by a huge roaring sound, a full-bodied energy wave directly spreads from the center of the collision between the two to the surroundings. Boom. Accompanied by one after another roaring sounds, the large number of buildings still standing on the ground were destroyed in an instant. The battle between the two entered a climax right after it just started. Sure enough, he is indeed the real controller of the retrograde. This guy's strength is really too strong. But what kind of phantom beast fruit is this? Masuya Yasuki mobilized all his strength to defend against Akunologia's attack, and at the same time, he was constantly guessing deep in his heart. After all, the powerful strength displayed by the black dragon Akunologia has already made their hearts extremely vigilant. Moreover, several members of the 5 elders have thoroughly identified the black dragon Akunologia as the true captain of the retrograde. Especially the strange devil fruit controlled by the black dragon also made the members of Wu Laoxing coveted. The world government has already secretly mastered the way to get devil fruit at close range through some ingenious way. Therefore, at this time, Masuya Yasuki even had time to spare his hands to think about how to defeat Akunologia and get the devil fruit on him. On the other side of the battlefield, the battle between Dean Riding and the scarred old man Ogata Ken has reached a fever pitch. Boom. The fists between the two kept colliding, and Dean Riding and the scarred old man Ogata Ken were fighting head to head through physical skills. After the collision again, the struggle of the two retreated towards the rear at the same time. Seeing the scarred old man Ogata Shion staring at Dean Riding with an extremely ugly expression at this moment, thoughts surged in his heart. This damn guy, what the hell is going on? How could he have such a powerful strength? Originally, the scarred old man Ogata Shion wanted to use the fastest speed to completely eliminate Dean Riding. However, he did not expect that the situation would completely enter a stalemate at this moment when the battle was going on. Nuo's good. At this time, he simply didn't have enough confidence to take down Dean Rigong in a relatively short period of time. The scarred old man Ogata Shion gently shook his arm, and he could even feel the huge power fluctuations that still remained in his arm. And all these are the corresponding residual power fluctuations left during the head-on collision with Dean Riding just now. A puppet who was put on the bright side has such a strong power. Is this the true strength of the rebellious guys on the retrograde? At this moment, Ogata Ken was completely impressed with Dean Riding in front of him. 120 Rita the Axe, answer my call. At this time, Dean Riding also shook his sore fist, with a bright smile on his face, and said, Shion Ogata, it seems that today has let you down. I'm afraid you have to continue to fight with me, a weakling gone. On the bright side, Dean Riding is full of confidence, but at this moment, his heart is also extremely wary of Ken Ogata in front of him. The evaluation of Dean Riding's monster physique has reached the super level, coupled with the high-level armed color and Conqueror's Haki, but there is still no way to completely take down the scarred old man Ogata Ken in front of him. This made Dean Riding's heart full of shocking emotions at the moment. As expected of being a member of the Five Elders, these guys really don't have any good faults. I saw Dean Riding took a deep breath, and then said, "It seems that I can't continue the stalemate with you 260, I don't only have the fighting method of body shape." Then, Dean Riding began to mobilize the corresponding chakra and ninjutsu experience inherited from Senju Hashirama in his body. The rich chakra immediately began to surge wildly inside Dean Riding's body. In the next moment, Dean Riding's hands were quickly sealed. Dark Row technique. Then under the surge of Dean Riding chakra, the scarred old man Ogata Ken's whole body fell into a state of sluggishness. At the same time, Scar Lousie's eyes also completely lost the light they should have. The current battle situation has become a dark place in his sight. What's the matter? The scarred old man Ogata Shion's face was soon filled with horror, but for a long time, the calmness brought by being in a high position made him return to normal in an instant. Since the sight could no longer distinguish the surrounding combat environment, Ogata Ken simply completely gave up the corresponding interference that the sight might cause to his battle, and closed his eyes directly. Then observation Haki was fully promoted, and Zhu Fangxian used Haki to perceive the changes around him. And at the next moment, a horrified look appeared on Ogata Ken's face. At this moment, Dean Riding's body has turned into an afterimage, and layers of armament Haki attached to the surface of his right fist are coming directly towards his chest. How about this great gift I gave you? Boom. In desperation, Ogata Ken could only wave his right fist to stop him hastily. However, how could Ogata Ken's hasty blow resist Dean Riding? A dull voice appeared, and Ogata Ken's body was forced to retreat backward under Dean Riding's attack. Advertisement. When seeing this, Dean Riding let out a series of hearty laughter, and then continued to chase quickly. At this time, the scarred old man Ogata Shion's face also became very ugly. Fighting wild geese all day long, today I was blinded by a wild goose bag. I didn't expect this guy to hide his strength all the time. This kind of method is not just something that a counterfeit can use. While retreating quickly, Ogata Ken remobilized the power in his body, preparing to launch a counterattack. On the other side, Ace Kano directly locked his eyes on the last Five Elders member who was idle. Or is it that you don't have the courage to fight at all? Why are you so leisurely? Do you want to watch all your companions die on the battlefield? Then, a huge axe appeared directly in Ace Kano's right hand. A mocking smile appeared on Ace Kano's face. He had already noticed that on the battlefield, Ace Kano hadn't directly joined the battle. A guy with good eyes, your perception is not wrong, because I am the sun. Ace Kano was carrying a huge axe on his back, like a walking sunbeam. Huge energy fluctuations were constantly brewing inside his body. At the same time, Ace Kano's entire body gradually began to become a little illusory. Axe Rita, answer my call. This guy seemed to have completely become the son of the sun in an instant. I feel the breath of the sun in you. The scorching sun made the ground where Ace Kano was standing start to become scorched black. The golden sun beams continuously gathered on the surface of his body. I saw that the sunlight near noon at this moment seemed to be completely attracted by Ace Kano, and a large amount of sunlight accumulated on Ace Kano's body. Masato Hirano in a black suit with curly hair stood up slowly, a look of indifference flashed in his eyes. As the voice fell, Ace Kano directly stretched out his right hand. I'm just picking an opponent who is more suitable to make a shot. From the looks of it, you arrogant guy does have the qualifications for me to make a shot. While speaking, the expression on the face of the curly-haired old Masato Hirano became very dignified. 121 Son of the Sun. What? How is this possible? A look of shock flashed across the face of the curly-haired old Masato Hirano who saw this scene. In the eyes of the curly-haired old man, Ace Kano in front of him has completely turned into the sun walking in the world. Endless sun radiance continuously gathered towards the surface of Ace Kano's body. At this moment, Ace Kano is tightly holding the divine axe Rita in his hand, and his whole person looks as dazzling as a god's residence walking in the world. Oh weaklings. Accept the sanction from the sun, let's go. Ace Kano directly swung the axe Rita in his hand. A thick golden slash went directly towards the curly-haired old man. Seeing this scene, the curly-haired old man took a deep breath, his face full of solemn expressions. This battle has just begun, how can we let the daylight saving end completely? A powerful conqueror's haki burst out directly from the curly-haired old man's body. Wake up, kid. The curly-haired old man let out a shout, and the rich conqueror's haki even took shape in midair, turning into strands of red energy fluctuations. A large number of energy fluctuations gathered in the factory, and crazily bombarded towards the golden shock wave released by Ace Kano. Boom. Accompanied by a huge roaring sound, the conqueror's winding directly shattered the golden shock wave. Wisps of sunlight at the scene splashed directly towards the surroundings. Bang bang. The dull sound continued to sound, and when every ray of sunlight attached to the ground, it was even enough to bake the ground until it was scorched black. And the look on the face of the curly-haired old man who saw this scene became more serious. Another monster-level powerhouse. The curly-haired old man felt no less pressure from Ace Kano than from the Black Dragon. How did the monsters on retrograde how appear? Why would such a monster be willing to succumb to Dean Riding? The curly-haired old man couldn't figure out what was going on. At this time, Ace Kano had a look of excitement on his face, and Dang even shouted, "Enjoy this hardy battle. Use all your strength and let the great axe Rita perceive your devotion to battle. That way maybe I can spare you in the middle of the battle." Advertisement. Swish. Carrying strands of golden sunbeams, Ace Kano's body turned into a beam of sunlight and rushed forward. With the continuous progress of the battle, the time has come to noon, and at this time, Ace Kano's combat power has also reached the strongest stage. The curly-haired old man who was in a fighting state was suddenly very shocked to find that Ace Kano seemed to have completely turned into a human-shaped sun at this time. The golden sunlight on the surface of Ace Kano's body even made it difficult for him to look directly at it. What species is this guy? Or is this his special devil fruit ability? Does this devil fruit still exist? A lot of questions appeared in the mind of the curly-haired old man. In the long life of the curly-haired old man, he has never seen this special way of fighting. The huge combat power displayed by Ace Kano has completely plunged the curly-haired old man into a state of bewilderment. 0 for flowers. At this moment, the faces of many members of the CP organization were full of doubts. Axe Rita, I've already begun to feel your joy. Swish swish. At this time, Ace Kano also felt a little pressure from the curly-haired old man, and he became even more excited. Is this guy Dean Riding really that strong of a personality? Or is Dean Riding just a real puppet like some adults say? And at this time, the 5 CP members around each 5 elders member can only scan the formation in the distance. The faces of many members were full of horror. But if Dean Riding is a puppet, then who is the retrograde? The real captain. Ace Kano's right hand frantically swung the axe Rita. Why would so many strong men be willing to bow down to Dean Riding? However, at this time, Ace Kano was not shocked. The sound of piercing through the air continued to sound, and the golden slashing waves formed a huge network of veins in the field. Where did these monsters come from? And the entire vein network completely enveloped Ace Kano, the space for advancing forward. The battle between Ace Kano and the curly-haired old man also directly reached its climax. This kind of battle is interesting. Under the blessing of the midday sun, Ace Kano's combat effectiveness continued to improve. Yes, that's it, show off your full strength. The great god Axe Rita will never be defeated by anyone. 122 The real monster. During the process of watching the battle, they suddenly discovered that the combat power that each member of the retrograde can display far exceeds the combat power of the admiral level. Under such circumstances, they couldn't understand why such a strong man would voluntarily follow a Dean Riding whose bounty was only 530 million Baileys. Just when many members of the CP organization looked confused, Tushan Yaya, who had a charming figure, stood up slowly, with her hands on her hips and said, "What are you guys waiting for? Since you have no way to intervene in the rest of the battle, then let my sister teach you how to behave." 477. Teaching is my favorite thing to do. Tushan Yaya was originally a woman with an extremely proud personality and a playful nature. The rest of the retrograde had already engaged the members of the 5 elders. Then it's not easy for her to watch from the sidelines, so she set her sights on the only 2 remaining CP captains and many CP team members. Each 5 elders member and CP leader has 5 CP members as a supporting force. Therefore, the number of ordinary CP members present on the scene is exactly 35. 35 members of the ordinary CP organization, plus 2 captains, are enough for me to simply exercise my muscles. You know, the strength of the captains of the 2 CP organizations has also reached the admiral level. Otherwise, Tushan Yaya doesn't even have any interest in making a move. One of the dark-skinned captains said with an ugly face, "A woman who doesn't know the so-called, since you take the initiative to seek death, don't blame us." Another captain with fairer skin also clenched his right fist, and the surface of his body was instantly covered by the thick armament hockey. "Interesting woman, today you will be completely lost in the battle." Everyone besieged together. Quote, although the 2 captains of the CP organization seemed to look down on Tushan Yaya, a beautiful woman, on the surface. But when they were just about to start the battle, the 2 captains directly pulled a full 35 members of the CP organization together to besiege Tushan Yaya. Seeing the dense crowd of opponents in front of her, Tushan Yaya just curled her lips slightly, and said in a puzzled way, "They are really 2 dignified men. Guys like you are only worthy of being someone else's dog in this life. Dog. You know, the CPO organization is basically the eagle dog of the world government. These guys are not only engaged in the acquisition of intelligence, but also engaged in various assassinations, so the reputation of the CP organization in the entire sea is very bad. Basically, as long as there is a small-scale pirate group, members of the CP organization will be mixed. Because of this, the world government can obtain a large amount of information and intelligence at the first time. Advertisement. Then the world government will formulate the latest combat measures based on the corresponding intelligence, and carry out a devastating blow to some pirates who have committed corresponding crimes. And this also makes many pirates on the sea hate the CPO organization. Once the members of the CP organization are found on the sea, they will usher in a crazy attack from many pirates. Many pirates also contemptuously regard the members of the CP organization as the eagle dogs of the world government. Whenever they talk about it, the tone must be extremely contemptuous. Do you really think that the crowd tactics are useful to me? Who can help me? A contemptuous look appeared on Tushan Yaya's face, and then she waved her right hand slightly. 0. If no one rescues them, they will be completely turned into ice sculptures. What? And at this moment, the lower half of the frozen body seemed to be completely away from them. What ability is this? Then the shining ice crystals began to climb and wrap around their bodies. At this time, one of the captains of the CP organization had sharp eyesight and quick hands, and quickly swung the long knife in his hand, directly cutting off the soldier's right arm perfectly. 5 or 6 members of the CP organization let all parts of their bodies be enveloped in cold breath in an instant. A lot of cold breath appeared on the surface of Tushan Yaya's body immediately. Then, the cold breath directly began to rush forward crazily. At the same time, they have long since lost the perception of frozen body parts. At this time, 5 or 6 members of the CP organization also began to shout in panic. Ice system, ice pulse. I saw that the right arm of one of the CP organization members was directly spread by the cold ice crystal breath, and saw that the rest of the ice crystal breath was about to go directly to his head. There was also a look of horror on this person's face. Because they can clearly see that these cold breaths are spreading upwards along their bodies. I can't move, my arm is going to shatter. During the rapid movement of a large amount of cold breath, many ordinary members of the CP organization were completely frozen. 123 The body of a monster. A tragic cry sounded, and the member of the CP organization completely lost an arm. And the lost arm fell to the ground quickly, and it completely turned into a perfect artwork with ice crystals attached. Although the soldier completely lost an arm, he managed to save his life anyway. Seeing this, many members of the CP organization present gritted their teeth fiercely, and began to slash at their bodies directly along the parts where the ice crystals were attached. In a short period of time, more than a dozen members of the CP organization with broken arms and legs appeared on the scene. And these members have completely lost their qualifications and abilities to continue fighting. In the end, there were only a dozen members of the CP organization left intact. And the eyes of these guys are full of fear, looking at Tushan Yaya who keeps approaching them. The bodies of all the people can't help but retreat. Monster. This woman is a real 10 monster. The members of the CP organization, who were well trained and instilled with corresponding ideas, were about to collapse completely at this moment. Even on the sidelines, the 2 captains of the CP organization were full of horror at the moment. In the face of these cold breaths, even the 2 captains have already begun to have ultimate fear and awe in the bottom of their hearts at this moment. But Tushan Yaya, who saw this scene, had a look of excitement on her face, and Dang even shouted, "Is this the strength of your CP organization? If you really only have this strength, it seems that I will be the first person to end the battle today." But at this moment, the faces of the 2 captains of the CP organization were full of dignified expressions. Damn woman, don't think that this little trick of yours can stump us. Go to hell, I don't know the so-called guy. Whizzing. Seeing the retreating subordinates around them, the 2 captains of the CP organization knew that they could not continue to procrastinate. So the 2 looked at each other at the same time, drew out the long knife at their waists, and rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. 2 piercing sounds sounded. 2 CP organization captains with admiral-level strength showed their strongest combat power in an instant. Swish swish. Advertisement. Dozens of bright saber lights appeared directly in midair, and the length of each saber light directly exceeded 100 meters. Under such circumstances, Tushan Yaya's way of advancing and retreating was directly blocked. Seeing this, Tushan Yaya was not surprised but happy, with a look of excitement on his face, and said, "This kind of attack seems interesting, but I don't know if your attack can hurt the top layers of my skin." Then, Tushan Yaya just stood quietly on the spot. Meowman's body seemed so small in front of many sword lights. Seeing the scene in front of them, even the captains of the 2 CP organizations had a look of astonishment on their faces. What the hell is this damn woman doing? Has she decided to give up completely? Does this woman want to wait for death in place? Under the incredulous gazes of the 2 CP organization captains, many saber lights easily hit Tushan Yaya's body. Clang. Soon, crisp and clear voices appeared, and then, an extremely shocking scene appeared. At this moment, Tushan Yaya was still standing in the same place, and when many sword lights struck her body, they couldn't hurt the outer skin of her body at all. At this moment, Tushan Yaya didn't even use armament hockey, relying on her powerful body to directly defend against the admiral-level saber light. You must know that Tushan Yaya is a strong man from the Tushan monster clan. In addition to her charming body and shrewd mind, her own maggot-producing strength is even more terrifying. And this kind of strength is completely different from that of ordinary humans. The body of the monster race also makes Tushan Ya 487 Ya not need to think about trivial matters such as defense at all in fitness battles. At this time, many members of the surrounding CP organization retreated crazily, their faces full of fear. This guy is a monster, and she really is a monster. Is this woman's body invulnerable? What kind of devil fruit does she have? Stay away from this damn woman, no one is a match for this woman. Admiral-level slashes can't directly cause any damage to Tushan Yaya, and the 2 captains of the CP organization present couldn't help feeling a little hopeless. They didn't even know how to hurt Tushan Yaya in front of them. They also don't know what's the point of continuing the fight. But at this time, Tushan Yaya became interested instead, and Dang even shouted dissatisfiedly, "What are you 2 guys doing? .124 Immortal Art, Mingshan Gate. Why did it stop suddenly? How can you be distracted during the battle?" Whoosh. Tushan Yaya's body and fast speed moved towards the positions of the 2 CP organization captains. At the same time, Tushan Yaya tightly clenched her right fist, her powerful body brought her unparalleled strength and speed. A heavy pressure burst out directly from Tushan Yaya's body. When this pressure was attached to the bodies of the two CP organization leaders, they instantly felt their bodies become extremely stiff. Since you don't want to do it, let me help you. Tushan Yaya swung her right fist suddenly, and her whole body turned into an afterimage, easily skipping over the bodies of the two CP organization captains. Boom. Then, two dull voices sounded, and after the bodies of the two CP organization captains suffered a heavy blow, their bodies fell directly towards the ground. Did I allow you to fall above the ground? A look of excitement flashed across Tushan Yaya's face, and his whole body flashed past again. The two heavy punches hit the two captains again, and then, the bodies of the two captains rose into the air again. In the following time, the dull voice continued to sound. Tushan Yaya seemed to have found something very interesting, and began to beat the two CP organization leaders like a sandbag crazily. Coupled with Tushan's elegant and graceful figure and a red robe, coupled with that devilish laughter, the entire battlefield has completely formed a very special landscape picture. At this time, Dean riding on the other side also noticed Tushan Yaya, and shook his head helplessly. This woman is going crazy again, backquote. Dean writing is very clear that Tushan Yaya's character is extremely arrogant and even a bit stubborn. And Tushan Yaya's only weakness is that she likes money very much. The starting point for her doing many things is to get more money. Of course, under the shackles of the system, Tushan Yaya will naturally carry out 100% of Dean Writing's orders. Therefore, Tushan Yaya can only find other fun in the battle. And beating two CP organization captains was the latest way he found to dispel his depression. But at this time, a piercing sound suddenly sounded. Boy, how dare you lose your mind during the battle with the old man? The old man with scars clenched his fists was coming towards Dean Writing at a very fast speed. The golden and black armament hockey is attached to the surface of the scarred old man's body. Advertisement. The scarred old man's physical fitness was already very strong, coupled with the blessing of armament hockey, he exploded with astonishing fighting power in a short period of time. However, at this time, Dean Writing had already noticed this scene, and just waved his fist lightly to the right. Two fists collided. Boom. After a huge roaring sound appeared, Dean Writing used the huge impact force to recede backward at an extremely fast speed. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Dean Writing's face showed a radiance, his hands quickly formed mudras, and a large amount of chakra in his body began to surge crazily. At this time, the scarred old man keenly sensed that something was wrong, and a lot of warning signs suddenly appeared deep in his heart. What's going on? The scarred old man tightly locked on Dean Writing in front of him, but until now, he was unwilling to believe that the puppets pushed out by the many strong men of the retrograde could easily defeat him. But the observation hockey possessed by the scarred old man is also constantly warning. Under such circumstances, a majestic aura burst out directly from Dean Writing's body. Quote dot. Backquote Shanshu, Mingshenman. A mortal chakra spreads directly on the surface of Dean Writing's body. Not long ago, the corresponding ability just inherited from Senju Hashirama's body was manifested by ultimate. Boom. An extremely huge chakra spread directly to the surroundings, and at this time Denri also directly entered the corresponding sage mode. And this sage mode is completely inherited from Senju Hashirama's body, so the tyranny of the current mode can also be seen from Madara. Qian Li Jiao. The next moment, dense red lines suddenly appeared in the midair. I saw a large number of red lines directly attached to the entire sky. At this time, a frightening look flashed across the scarred old man's face. What the hell is this? Is this also Devil Fruit's ability? Could it be that this guy's combat effectiveness is actually the strongest in the entire retrograde? In the horrified gaze of the scarred old man, a large number of fiery red bodies appeared directly from the red lines. The red lines seem to have completely opened a door of time and space. And each fiery red body is composed of one horizontal column and two vertical columns. 125 red Tori. These things seem to have the corresponding vitality completely, and they directly locked the scarred old man as soon as they appeared. Die. Dean Writing's right hand suddenly pointed forward. Whizzing. The sound of piercing the sky began to sound continuously, and then, the red Tori gate made up of one horizontal and two vertical columns rolled towards the scarred old man's body at an extremely fast speed. The scarred old man felt a warning sign in his heart, and took a deep breath. Boom. Then a violent breath erupted directly from the surface of his body. Conqueror's entanglement, coupled with Ultimate's armament hockey, merged with each other, and then formed a witty shock wave that went directly upwards. At this moment, the scarred old man followed closely behind with his whole body tightly clenched with his right fist. With the black armament hockey covering it, this 827 scarred old man looks like he is wearing a huge black full suit. The red Tori directly collided with the scarred old man's body. Boom. A huge roaring sound suddenly appeared, and then the old man with the scar relied on his powerful ability to forcibly set up the red Tori in midair. However, the old man with no scars smiled, only to see the red lines in the midair began to tremble again. From the already formed gate of time and space, densely packed red Tori gates appeared again. Moreover, the size and scale of each red Tori are exactly the same as those that have appeared before. Seeing the scars here, the old man had a look of despair on his face. How is this possible? How could this level of attack come from a weak person like you? Who are you? Beige. The scarred old man let out a desperate cry. However, a sneer appeared on Dean Writing's face at this time. How can a frog like you understand the power of our retrograde? Bury it deep in the ground. Advertisement. Then, after a huge roaring sound appeared, the red torii gates one after another were directly added together. At this time, the scarred old man's body could no longer bear this huge pressure. Accompanied by a huge roaring sound, the body of the scarred old man was tightly suppressed on the ground. A series of red torii gates directly imprisoned the scarred old man's body. Under the tremendous pressure and the influence of chakra, the scarred old man couldn't even move a finger. Apart from the constantly rotating eyeballs, the scarred old man couldn't even speak. Seeing this scene, Dean Riding showed a look of satisfaction on his face, and said, as expected of a fairy, the Mingshenman, which can only be used in the mode, has such a powerful oppressive force that it can kill members of the Five Elders in seconds. If Dean Riding hadn't used this move for the first time, he would have been able to directly harvest his life while suppressing the scarred old man. On the battlefield at this moment, only 4 members of the Five Elders remained. And the rest of the battle is also going on in full swing. At this time, Dean Riding didn't want to participate in any other battles, he just stood there and watched the battle. After all, Dean Riding knows very well the strength of the other strings of retrogrades. With their powerful strength, they can easily resolve the battle. The current Senju Hashirama and others are adapting to the corresponding combat power information and data possessed by Huoshi Five Elders members. At this time, Senju Hashirama, while fighting, was constantly using chakra to record the battle data of the blonde old man who was fighting him. The blonde old man must have survived for hundreds of years. The combat experience and special combat techniques accumulated in this real antique are very rich. Senju Hashirama did not notice this unique combat experience in the rest of the pirates, so at this time he was not even willing to kill the blonde old man easily. Because Senju Hashirama only needs to constantly put pressure on the blonde old man, then the blonde old man needs to constantly display corresponding abilities to fight. And under the control of Senju Hashirama, the blonde old man felt that he seemed to be in a state where he could win the battle at any time. It is also because of this that the blonde old man is very excited. He also understands that on the current battlefield, as long as he can easily take down one of the members of the retrograde, then the momentum on the entire battlefield will undergo earth-shaking changes. I saw the huge wooden man raging crazily in the arena, and at this time the armament hockey on the surface of the blonde old man's body had already accumulated to ultimate. The pitch-black aura had completely enveloped his body. The blood in the blonde old man's body was also circulating at a frantic speed, constantly colliding head-on with the wooden man. The right fist of the blonde-haired old man swung violently, barely blocking a heavy punch from the wooden man. .126 Tempest Kick White Thunder. Boom. A huge roaring sound appeared. The body of the blonde-haired old man was forced to slide backwards on the ground, pulling out 2 gullies that reached a length of 1 meter. However, at this time, the body of the wooden man also shook slightly, as if it might collapse completely at any time. At this time, Senju Hashirama also made a very difficult look. It seems that manipulating the wooden man to fight is already the strongest method he can show. All the pictures in front of him gave the blonde old man an illusion that as long as he continued to persevere, he would be able to easily defeat the rising hand Hashirama. The blonde old man who had just paused for a while saw the scarred old man who had been directly pressed by the red torii in the distance, and his whole face changed suddenly. Damn it, that guy Ogata-ken has already failed, so I'm afraid this will be a big deal. Before the battle started, the members of Five Elders had already calculated the strength of both sides. The 5 of them, together with the 2 captains of the CP organization and the team members in the area, can easily intercept everyone on the retrograde. But each of them must win if the battle is to end as they wish. And at this time, a member of the Five Elders has been completely defeated, which means that the balance of victory in the entire battle has been tilted towards the retrograde. Thinking of this, the blonde old man completely understood. He must use the fastest speed to completely eliminate the opponent in front of him, otherwise, the whole battle situation will gradually collapse. After thinking of this, the blonde old man fixed his eyes on Senju Hashirama in front of him, and bit hard. The whole body also rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. 6 forms, Tempest Kick by Lei. Whoosh! A large amount of lightning suddenly appeared in the right leg of the blonde old man. At the same time, the right leg of the blonde-haired old man suddenly kicked forward. Looking from a distance, a white lightning suddenly appeared in the midair, and directly wrapped around the body of the blonde old man. While the blonde-haired old man was advancing, this white thunderbolt also moved towards the wooden man with a mighty crushing force. Tempest Kick is originally a very unique means of fighting in the form of attacks. At this time, the blonde old man created a unique attack method based on his rich combat experience. This shock wave even has the attributes of lightning. Unique combat attributes, showing an extremely powerful deterrent in the process of advancing in midair. Advertisement. There were even dense white lightning bolts appearing in the entire sky. The celestial phenomena above the battlefield have been affected accordingly. Seeing this scene, Dean Riding couldn't help shaking his head with great emotion. Sure enough, none of these 5 elders guys are good. Why do I feel like Ken Ogata is the weakest of them all? Thinking of this, Dean Riding looked strangely at the scarred old man Ogata-ken who was pressed under the red torii gate. At this time, after Ogata Shion saw Dean Riding's strange expression, he completely understood what Dean Riding was thinking, and the anger in his chest began to accumulate crazily. Then, Ogata-ken began to exert all his strength, trying to overthrow the red torii on his back. In the next moment, under Senju Hashirama's extremely surprised eyes, And only when the attack strength of this move reaches a certain standard, Senju Hashirama is willing to spend chakra to record the battle data. Boom. Sure enough, the combat experience of these guys was ordered by several of them. It seems that they still have a lot of special moves. At this time, it is impossible for Ogata Ken to get out of trouble. However, a large number of red Torii gates have already formed a fixed situation, firmly suppressing Ogata Ken below. The white lightning directly swallowed the two arms of the wooden man. On the other side of the battlefield, Senju Hashirama looked at the blonde old man rushing towards the wooden man with great satisfaction. A huge roaring sound appeared, and a large number of white lightning directly attached to the wooden man's arms. The seal in Senju Hashirama's hand changed slightly, and then the wooden figure changed rapidly, and the two huge wooden arms were directly brought together. If the intensity of the corresponding attack cannot be achieved, it means that this kind of attack does not need to be promoted and recorded at all. Unless someone can directly challenge Dean Riding from the front, if the chakra in Dean Riding's body does not fluctuate, it is impossible for these red Torii gates to disappear. Then, the two wooden arms collided directly with the white lightning. At the same time, white incoming calls were affected at a very fast speed. Zero looking for flowers. However, the next moment, when the white thunderbolt wanted to continue devouring the wooden man's body, the energy in it was completely exhausted. Senju Hashirama tried to use the physical strength of the wooden man to test the attack strength of this move. 127 true several thousand hands. Then, the white lightning disappeared directly into the midair. At this time, the huge wooden man also completely lost his two arms. When he saw this, a look of excitement appeared on the face of the blonde old man. I finally waited until the moment when you showed your flaws. The body of the blonde-haired old man turned into an afterimage, rushing forward impatiently. Before he attacked, he had seen the wooden man's body at an extremely weird angle. Therefore, after the blonde old man made a corresponding prediction, he understood that once he used this move, then Senju Hashirama, perhaps only 977, could sacrifice the wooden man's body structure to block the huge attack. His prediction has completely come true. Then it's time for him to pursue the victory. At this time, the faces of the corresponding members of the many world governments standing on the distant battlefield also showed a look of excitement. Great, my lord has completely defeated this wooden man, and it seems that next, Nodakata should be able to easily defeat this guy named Senju Hashirama. This guy has been using his own summons to deal with K-sama Noda from the beginning, and this time he is finally going to give him a taste of failure. As long as Mr. K Noda can free his hands, the situation on the entire battlefield will gradually change. Many members of the world government also began to get excited. They seemed to have seen the current situation where the members of the five elders directly suppressed the people on the retrograde. But at this time, Senju Hashirama looked indifferently at the blonde old K Noda who kept approaching him, and shook his head slightly. What a blind guy. If I didn't deliberately manipulate it, do you really think that your attack can destroy the two arms of the wooden man? Senju Hashirama's voice echoed over the entire battlefield, and the blonde old man's body froze when he heard it. But at this time, he has no way out, and the distance between him and Senju Hashirama is getting closer. But at this time, the wooden man standing on the battlefield did not take any action at all. Just when everyone thought that the battle in front of them was about to come to an end, I saw Senju Hashirama's hands pinched a seal directly. The rich chakra began to brew in Senju Hashirama's body, and then a huge breath spread from his body to the outside world. A large amount of breath swept the audience, and then saw Senju Hashirama's body soaring into the air. A strong celestial chakra directly began to permeate the surface of Senju Hashirama's body. Advertisement. At the same time, mysterious marks appeared on Senju Hashirama's body. The gap between you and me is beyond your imagination. At this time, Senju Hashirama, the robe on the surface of the body is also shaking slowly under the breeze, and there is a little more holy breath on the whole person's face. And the blonde old man who saw this scene had a look of horror on his face. Because he immediately felt the terrible pressure from inside Senju Hashirama's body. What the hell is going on? Why does this guy seem like a different person suddenly? Could it be that he still has a corresponding whole card that he hasn't shown? The blonde-haired old man never felt such terrible oppression from Senju Hashirama's body before. 0. This is Senju Hashirama's strategy all the time, he just needs to keep the enemy weak, then sooner or later the blonde old man will be greedy for success. And in this way, after Senju Hashirama recorded and eliminated the fighting style of the blonde old man, he could directly defeat him in one fell swoop. At the same time, Senju Hashirama's hands began to quickly form a mudra. Shanju, wood style, Shinsu ascends. In the next moment, the huge fairy art chakra began to brew crazily in Senju Hashirama's body. Then, I saw the same aura suddenly born inside the wooden man who was in a static state on the battlefield in front of him. The next moment, I saw Wood's body completely blocking the way forward of the blonde old man. Then, the wooden man's body began to shake violently. When they saw this, the people around couldn't help but exclaimed one after another. Is there any possibility for this wooden man to continue fighting? The 2.6 arms this guy used to fight have completely dissipated. Does he want to use his own body to kill Nodake-sama directly? This Senju Hashirama, shouldn't it be related to the fainting? Many members of the world government simply do not believe that Senju Hashirama has the possibility of turning things around. And at this time, with their abilities, they couldn't detect the powerful oppressive history in Senju Hashirama's body at all. Because how can ants perceive the threat of humans when they are very abrupt? However, at this time, the complexion of the blonde old man became very ugly. 128 suppression on the spot. Sure enough, the wooden man's body shook rapidly, and then two identical arms appeared directly on the wooden man's arms. This also means that the attack just now by the blonde old man has completely lost its corresponding effect. After the blonde old man's painstaking achievements achieved corresponding results, he still did not pose any threat to Senju Hashirama. At this time, Dean Riding, who was standing aside and guarding the scarred old man, looked at Senju Hashirama in midair with great emotion. Sure enough, Dazuzi's use of the immortal technique chakra is beyond my comparability. Although from a systematic point of view, Dean Riding has completely inherited Senju Hashirama's Shanjutsu. But in terms of the use and understanding of Shanjutsu, Dean Riding is temporarily unable to compare with Senju Hashirama. After all, Senju Hashirama is a person who has experienced many battles, and he has been fighting all his life, constantly advancing, and his own understanding of ninjutsu and combat experience are fundamental, and he cannot be easily defeated by Dill Riding replica. Under such circumstances, the wooden man's body stood quietly on the spot directly, but one arm after another continued to appear on the surface of the wooden man's body. In a very short period of time, under the action of chakra, thousands of huge arms have appeared on the surface of the wooden man's body. Each arm is superimposed on each other, and can swing freely, looking extremely cautious. At this time, the blonde old man was completely fixed in place, with a shocked expression on his face. What the hell is going on here? Why is this thing able to have so many arms all of a sudden? So the two arms I destroyed just now are not important at all. At this time, the blonde old man also felt a little hopeless in his heart. Because before that, he spent a lot of energy dealing with both arms, and at this time he couldn't think of any way to deal with more arms. At the same time, the faces of many world government members in the distance are also full of shock. Thousands of arms grew out of this wooden body in an instant. It's too scary. How did this happen? No wonder this guy didn't panic at all when he saw Kei-sama Noda launching an attack. So, has this guy already thought of a countermeasure? So there is a huge gap between Noda Kei-sama's strength and this guy named Senju Hashirama. Many members of the world government still remember that the former blonde Kei Noda spent a lot of effort before destroying the two arms of the wooden man. Advertisement. However, the thousands of arms on the wooden man now let everyone understand that the battle in front of them has just begun. While Senju Hashirama may have a chance to easily take out the blonde old man's abilities, it just seems to be dragging the fight all this time. At this time, the blonde old man gritted his teeth fiercely as he looked at the densely packed arms in front of him. It's absolutely impossible. The wooden man's fighting power cannot be improved too much in an instant. And he relies on the strength of one person. How can he use such a large number of arms? So these arms can't all be put to good use at all. The blonde old man is very clear that even for a strong person, it is very difficult to multitask, and in this kind of high-level battle, it is basically non-existent to multitask. So he immediately decided that Senju Hashirama couldn't control so many arms at the same time. Since this is the case, then I still have the hope of continuing to win. Then, densely packed armament hockey immediately appeared on the surface of the blonde old man's body. A large number of black armament hockey covered it, as if it had put on a set of black armor in an instant. Boom. Then, a violent breath erupted directly from the surface of his body, and the blonde old man also directly took out the highest grade Conqueror's Hockey 133. After all, it is an antique that has lived for hundreds of years, and the perception and cultivation of Conqueror's Hockey have reached an extremely deep level. Under the influence of Conqueror's Hockey, the blonde old man seemed to have turned into a thick city wall. The superposition of two completely different hockey also caused a huge change in the aura of the blonde old man at the moment. Senju Hashirama stared at the scene in front of him with great interest, and said with a smile, "Sure enough, it is beneficial to drag the battle on. Otherwise, how could this guy show such a completely different attack in front of me?" Although Senju Hashirama has also learned Conqueror's Hockey, he never thought of combining Armament Hockey and Conqueror's Hockey. Because these two kinds of hockey are completely different products. Perhaps it is because Senju Hashirama's understanding of hockey and the number of battles are not enough, so he didn't put his mind on the fusion level. 129 finger pistol flying. But this time, the blonde old man opened a new door to the world for him in front of them. Thinking of this, Senju Hashirama nodded in satisfaction. Under such circumstances, the blonde old man at this moment did not hesitate at all, and rushed towards the direction of Senju Hashirama at an extremely fast speed. I bet you can't manipulate thousands of arms smoothly. Since you have chosen to multitask in front of me, let me see your true level. At the last moment of the battle, the blonde-haired old man completely confirmed his inner thoughts, that is, Senju Hashirama, who was manipulating thousands of arms at the same time, must be in a hurry. And when Senju Hashirama reveals the corresponding flaws, it is his moment of victory. At this time, Senju Hashirama had a mocking smile on his face. You must know that this trick is his original ninjutsu. And this trick is also one of his trump cards. How could Senju Hashirama choose a method that affects the battle situation as the bottom card of the box? You ignorant fellow, today I will let you have a good eye-opener. Then I saw the Senju chakra inside Senju Hashirama's body began to expand crazily. With Senju Hashirama's hands continuously making seals, there seems to be a corresponding connection between the huge wooden man and Senju Hashirama. Then, Senju Hashirama's right fist slammed forward. And at this moment, the thousands of arms of the wooden man with big ears were facing the blonde old man in midair directly from different angles. When he saw this, the blonde old man Notake showed a shocking look on his face. What? How is this possible? How is it possible for him to fight with so many arms at once? How the hell does he do it? The corresponding situation that the blonde old man originally wanted to see did not appear at all. Senju Hashirama can easily control wooden figures with thousands of arms with his own body. Arms rushed forward in midair. Whizzing. A large number of piercing sounds began to sound, and the entire sky was completely filled with brown wooden arms. In a short moment, the blonde old man eliminated all the space and angles, and all of them were cut off. And at this time, the only way before him to get a chance of survival is to continue fighting. At this time, the blonde old man didn't have any room to escape. Advertisement. The old man is a person who has survived one war after another. How can he completely disappear in this small fight in front of him? Finger pistol. Fly. Then, I saw the blonde old man carrying a heavy aura on the surface of his body, pointing his index finger directly forward. At the same time, an extremely dazzling light rushed forward. At this time, the blonde old man condensed all the aura of his body in his index finger, and there seemed to be a trace of jet black on the entire sky. The position where the index finger of the blonde-haired old man passed left a black trail, which completely shocked everyone present. Even Dean Riding, who was watching the battle in the distance, couldn't help but let out an exclamation. As expected, he is an old antique among the five elders. This guy's ability is about to break through the limitation of space. Obviously, even the sky at this moment couldn't bear the sudden attack of the blonde old man, so some jet black tracks were left in the space. The reason why you can continue to live is because you didn't meet me. At the same time, a large number of wooden man's arms also equalized at an extremely fast speed, leaving the position where the blonde old man was. Under such circumstances, the thick aura surrounding the blonde old man's body was constantly weakening. I saw the many wooden arms in the innermost circle shattered in an instant, and turned into a large amount of sawdust, splashing towards the surroundings. In just an instant, the body of the blonde old man was completely suppressed by thousands of wooden arms. Backquote, and today, it will all be rewritten. At this time, even Senju Hashirama felt the extremely heavy pressure. Then, a huge roar appeared. But on the battlefield, a large number of wooden arms are still falling off crazily. At this time, Senju Zhu Wang's also looked at the scene indifferently. However, these damaged wooden arms are nothing compared to the very large number of arms. Boom. Then, a jet black trajectory appeared in the center of the many arms. Roar. The next moment, under the astonished eyes of everyone, the two collided suddenly. Everyone even saw a golden light through the densely packed arms, which was the blonde old man who was directly suppressed in it. But at this time, the expression in Senju Hashirama's eyes was still very indifferent. Among the many wooden arms, the blonde old man who was directly suppressed suddenly let out an angry roar. 130 The power of the black dragon. However, soon, the fluctuation at the center of the battlefield completely disappeared. At this time, Senju Hashirama exhaled lightly, and said, "It seems that I am slightly better." Then, I saw Senju Hashirama's hands forming seals quickly, and the arms on the surface of the huge wooden man's body began to decrease crazily. In the end, only two arms remained, staying in midair. And the palms formed by these two arms directly closed together, tightly besieging the blonde old man in the most important position. So far, the blonde old man Yi Tiangui, one of the members of five elders, has also been completely defeated and directly subdued by Senju Hashirama. And at this time, Morgans, the president of the news agency who arrived late with a large number of camera phone bugs, just arrived at the scene and saw the shocking scene of these few people. Whether it was the huge wooden man with thousands of arms, or the celestial dragons, the scene where the blonde old man was directly defeated, all of them gave Morgans a look of shock. As this 023 the strength of the retrograde. These guys are too scary, aren't they? Morgan subconsciously glanced around the battlefield, and all he saw was that the battlefield had entered a fever pitch. Then, Morgans took a deep breath and said frantically, "These are all headlines. Everyone, act quickly. Broadcast everything here to the world." At this time, although Morgans had already established a news agency, the reputation of the news agency was not so loud above the sea. If it weren't for the fact that the news agency was fully responsible for the printing of the reward order and had already been issued, I am afraid that not many people would know the existence of the news agency. Therefore, this time, when Morgans learned that the people on the retrograde were about to attack the Holy Land Mariejois, they had already moved towards this place immediately. However, he didn't expect that when he came to the scene, he still missed many wonderful battle scenes. However, because the battle on the scene has entered an extremely intense stage, even if Morgans personally leads many subordinates to arrange corresponding camera phone bugs on the scene, they still need to be cautious. After all, the aftermath of the battle at the scene was too intense. Once their bodies are directly affected by the aftermath of the battle, what awaits them is an extremely tragic end. Soon, when the battle between the Black Dragon Akunologia and Yasuki Masutani was about to be decided, the arrangement of Morgan's live phone bug was basically coming to an end. Advertisement. And on the battlefield at this time, Akunologia's huge black dragon body was constantly circling in midair. Looking from a distance, at this moment, the entire sky seems to be completely occupied by Akunologia. The body of the black dragon is like a huge cloud, and it even seems to be changing the celestial phenomena at the scene. The dragon follows the cloud, the wind follows the tiger, and the black dragon Akuno Loki possesses powerful magic. In addition, he, Bad C, himself has directly scattered a large amount of dragon vein breath all over the audience at this time. Therefore, when Akunoralia randomly mobilized the sub-attribute magic, the situation on the entire scene began to change slowly. At this time, a serious look appeared on the face of the bearded old man Masagu Yasuki. There are already a few mating marks on the surface of Masuya Yasuki's body. And if it wasn't for the inappropriate environment and timing, Yasuki Masutani would have already left the battlefield directly. Damn it, why is this guy so strong? And the strength of the dragon's body is too high, my attack can't hurt his body at all. When the bearded old man Masuya Yasuki looked up, he saw a black dragon with a thick armament haki attached to it. Akunologia's own understanding of armament haki has also reached an extremely deep level. Therefore, combined with his own extremely strong defense, plus the defense of armament haki, the black dragon does not need to avoid the attack of the bearded old man at all during the battle. Under such circumstances, the bearded old man was always suppressed during the battle. At this time, Akunologia was staring down closely, and the bearded old man who looked like an ant gradually became a little impatient. A thoroughly weak person, the battle between you and me should indeed end. Senju Hashirama, they're all over the fight, how can I fall behind them? After all, I am a great black dragon. On the other side, when Morgan's World was broadcast live, after receiving the notification thoroughly, many pirates who were watching the live broadcast from the corresponding phone. Jonin couldn't help showing an extremely shocked look on his face. Because at the moment when the live broadcast was connected, the huge bodies of the black dragon Akunologia first appeared on the screen. Point 131 All members are famous. Chapter 131. During the battle, the black dragon Akunologia's body had already directly broken through 1,000 meters. The gigantic black dragon as long as a kilometer hovered in midair, exuding a strong sense of oppression that could be suffocating anytime and anywhere. When seeing this scene, behind the sea, many pirates couldn't help but exclaimed. What is this? Why is there a huge black dragon appearing in here? Who will tell me where this long black dragon came from? Is this guy a member of the retrograde dimension, the black dragon Akunologia? Isn't this too exaggerated? It turns out that this guy's nickname is not only Black Dragon, but he himself can directly become a huge black dragon. The decisive battle between Akunologia and Marine has already been rumored before. The battle at that time was rumored, but basically no one believed that Akunologia could turn into a real black dragon to fight. After all, in the world, among the perceptions of many pirates, the blood of the dragon clan is very powerful. Even the powerful phantom beast species fruits only temporarily transform them into corresponding dragon forms, and there is no way to compare them with real black long dragons. And judging from the current situation, everyone can even clearly see every nuance of the black long dragon's body parts, coupled with a very strong dragon power. Everyone who saw this scene was very sure that what appeared in front of them was a real long black dragon. At the same time, everyone in the Locks Pirates also had a panoramic view of everything in front of them. At this moment, Locks frowned tightly. I couldn't help but ask, is this guy Dick in Switzerland's subordinate? Unexpectedly, his subordinates still look quite good. Charlotte Linlin couldn't help grinning, and said, such a member should join our Locks Pirates. Why would such a powerful guy prefer to be subdued to the dimensional retrograde? It's really incomprehensible. Dean Riding, does this guy have such a great personality? Charlotte Linlin and Dean Riding barely had much contact. And because Dean Riding refused to join the Locks Pirates before, Charlotte Linlin's impression of Dean Riding was not so good. Advertisement. When Whitebeard heard this, he curled his lips slightly, and said directly, Dean Riding's strength is beyond your imagination, and even if you are now, you may not necessarily be his opponent. 17. And the most powerful part of Dimension Retrograde is his many subordinates. These subordinates do not have enough energy to fight them, but their bounty has exceeded 300 million. Especially this guy named Akunologia, his strength is one of the best. Standing aside, Silver Axe, one of the core cadres of the Locks Pirates, also nodded heavily. I saw Silver Axe carrying a huge silver axe on his back, and there was some sharp aura floating on the surface of his body, as if he might launch an attack at any time. After the bounty reaches this level, he can be regarded as a well-known strongman above the entire sea. And after he entered the sea, he actually headed directly towards the Holy Land Mariejois. This guy is also a real monster in his bones. Because everybody knows, Dean Riding, that guy owns a saloon in Dora Vega. But in any case, their views on Dean Riding have not changed fundamentally. 0.0. Because at this time, all members of the Locks Pirates are very confident in their strength. Then, the people around couldn't help but started laughing too. What's more, the Locks Pirates are the #1 pirate group in the world, and Charlotte Linlin, as the core cadre, has no doubts about its own strength. The Golden Lion on the side couldn't help laughing and said, Edward, I think you were bought by that guy Dean Riding's fine wine, otherwise, why do you treat her so differently? And the fine wines sold in this tavern are very unique and welcomed by many people. Don't you think I'm no match for an unknown little guy? Hearing this, Charlotte Linlin couldn't help frowning, and said, Edward, what do you mean? Captain John, who was standing aside, had a smile on his face, and couldn't help but say, but Dean Riding is a very interesting person, he has great strength, but he is willing to stay on a small island. Quote. Even the members of the Locks Pirates would go to the tavern to buy good wine from time to time, and they had already been conquered by the good wine in the tavern. Ask for flowers. You must know that my bounty has directly reached 1.9 billion Baileys. 132 Boring battle. If the time is right, I'd love to take on that Dean writing guy. With the complete spread of the bounty offered by all members of Dimensional Retrograde, the reputation of everyone on the entire sea has also increased. The reputation of the people on the entire sea also began to gradually increase. After all, there aren't that many pirates whose bounties reach more than 200 million Baileys. And the bounties offered by all members of Dimensional Retrograde basically exceeded 200 million Baileys, which is definitely a very exaggerated figure. Then, I saw Locks on the side gloomy, and said with a face, this guy actually took the initiative to provoke the Holy Land Mariejois, 633. I want to see how he ends up this time. Even the current Locks, who are very confident in the strength of their own pirate group, have never thought of directly attacking the Holy Land of Mariejois. But unexpectedly, the resource retrogrades not only shouted slogans, but also put them into action. At the same time, everyone above the sea is also paying attention to this big world that happened in the Holy Land Mariejois. And the reputation of the Dimensional Retrograde is also spreading wildly to the outside world with the continuous live broadcast of the world. The eyes of many pirates are even brighter, and their faces are full of fanaticism. These guys from Dimension Retrograde are really lunatics. They actually did such an unimaginable thing. The world government is slapping themselves in the face if they can't keep them all in the Holy Land of Mariejois. It's really too exaggerated. What are these guys thinking? However, judging from the current battle situation, the Dimensional Retrogrades even seem to have the corresponding upper hand. The powerful deterrence brought by the Black Dragon Akunologia in front of him directly made many pirates look at the rebels with admiration. On the battlefield of the Holy Land Mariejois. At this moment, the Black Dragon Akunologia's eyes flickered with an indifferent look, and he opened his mouth wide and let out a roar. Roar. The huge roaring sound, like a substantive sound wave, spread directly to the surroundings. A Madara crack appeared immediately above the ground, and everything was swept by the sound waves, and the ground surface became a mess in an instant. Under such circumstances, at this moment, the long-bearded old man Yasuki Masaya, who was trying his best to intercept the Black Dragon Akunologia, also had a very heavy face. He has gradually realized that he is powerless. Originally, he wanted to stop the Black Dragon Akunologia as much as possible, and then wait for the rest to come to help after defeating the opponent, but he didn't expect that the battlefield in other places had already completely decided the winner. At this time, Masagu Yasuki also completely entered a very embarrassing situation. Advertisement. Because he didn't have the strength to directly defeat the Black Dragon, but for the sake of the overall battle situation, he had to do his best to deal with everything in front of him. Under such circumstances, the pressure that Yasuki Masagu could perceive was also increasing. The boring battle is simply disgusting. The roar of the Black Dragon Akunologia began to sound in the field. And with the appearance of this voice, Masuya Yasuki's face became more and more ugly, and he seemed to have sensed in his heart that the battle situation was about to usher in the final end. At this time, the people who were watching the live broadcast were also holding their breath, looking at the scene in front of them. 0. A heavy breath welled up spontaneously. At this moment, Yasuki Masutani took a deep breath, and then directly covered a large amount of armament haki on the surface of his body. The arrogance hidden in the Black Dragon's bone marrow was completely aroused, and after thoroughly understanding the corresponding strength of Yasuki Masutani, he directly launched the final attack. Is this the strength of the world government? Sure enough, he is a member of 5 elders. This guy doesn't look weak at all. When they saw this, the people who were watching the live broadcast couldn't help but exclaimed. Under the overlapping of corresponding skills, the bearded old man also completely turned into a wall, truly showing off his strength. At this time, the Black Dragon Akuno Nokia looked like a huge white ball of light, but the surface of the black light ball was covered with a large number of tips. The huge dragon body and the fast speed walk forward. Roar. After a huge roar sounded, Black Dragon Akunologia's body surface suddenly began to burn with black flames. The powerful force brought by the dragon body is matched with the corresponding power of the dragon-slaying magic. Swish. At this moment, the scales on the surface of the Black Dragon Akunologi's body were even filled with a large number of spikes. Destroy. Weak human beings. At the same time, the face of the bearded old man Yasuki Masutani also became very ugly. 4.9. The huge dragon claws of the Black Dragon Akunokia appeared directly, shining brightly under the sunlight. The huge black wings flapped rapidly in midair. Then, the technique of Conqueror's winding was directly used. 133 Dragon Slayer magic. But can this guy really block the attack of the Black Dragon Akunologia? I am afraid that the world government will be completely humiliated in this invasion of the dimensional rebels. Everyone can see from the live broadcast in front of them that the powerful energy fluctuations inside the Black Dragon Akunologia's body are far stronger than those of the bearded old man. In the eyes of everyone looking forward to it, the two collided suddenly. Boom. A huge roaring sound appeared, and then a strong energy nose ripple began to appear directly at the impact point of the Black Dragon Akunologia and the bearded old man. The energy ripple spread directly to the surroundings, and formed an extremely strong coercion, and all the encounter battlefields that were going on in the surroundings were also affected. At this time, Dean Riding couldn't help showing a smile on his face after seeing this scene. It seems that Akunologia has really used the power of dragon-slaying magic. 10 inches. It's just that the members of the 5 elders are still too weak for him to let him play to his full strength. Dean Riding knew very well that the real roar of the Black Dragon Akunologia could destroy an island with one blow. Moreover, the dragon-slaying magic developed by the black dragon Akuno Nokia is completely dark magic in terms of attributes. Once he directly uses dark magic on the battlefield, I am afraid that the bearded old man Yasuki Masutani, a member of the five elders in front of him, may not even be able to survive a single move. Although it is said that after Akunologia came to this world, he was also slowly adapting to the differences in this world. But the black dragon Akunologia's own ability has not changed in any way. In the astonished gazes of everyone, the black aura covered the scene for a full 2 kilometers in an instant. A large number of black ripples cut off a layer of the entire ground. A lot of battlefield smoke spread all over the scene. Seeing the surroundings of this scene, the faces of many world government members who were watching the battle were full of astonishment. Did Masuya Yasuki-sama fail? How is this possible? How can grown-ups fail? I never believe that such a thing can happen. It's over. Is the third master five elders going to be directly defeated? Advertisement. Many members of the world government feel that their future is dark at the moment. If the dimensional retrograde can completely defeat the world government this time, then it must be a huge blow to the reputation of the world government. Under such circumstances, the resources and power in the hands of the world government will also be crazily dropped. The rest of the pirates above the sea will usher in an era of true carnival. At this moment, everyone was completely silent. Meanwhile, the Locks pirates. Inside the huge pothole, the bearded old man Masuya Yasuki had completely lost his corresponding consciousness. A large number of pirates have been opened. For the world government and marine, after losing their deterrent power, it is unimaginable what many pirates can do. Ha ha ha, Lousy's bounty has already exceeded 600 million Baileys. It seems that I can also find a good collision with the world government. Locks frowned tightly, and said, Shiki, have you tried to invite the black dragon Akunologia? And at this time, the black dragon Akunonokia has completely recovered his human form, his whole body dripping in the air, and he glanced at the people present indifferently. The skin of the black dragon Aguno-Nokia has a lot of lines on its surface, and it has long white hair on it. With the opportunity to cooperate, the indifferent look shows the arrogance of the dragon clan to no avail. That's right, among the resource retrogrades, Dean Riding, who has the highest bounty, only reached 537.37 million Bailey cases. Under such circumstances, under the expectant eyes of everyone, after the smoke cleared from the battlefield, everyone discovered that a huge pothole had appeared where the bearded old man was originally standing. Under such circumstances, Golden Lion showed a look of helplessness on his face, and then said, the composition of the retrograde seems to be very weird, and it seems that the crew members respect Dean Riding very much. It was also officially announced that the third member of Dimensional Retrograde was once again one of the members of Five Elders. And this scene also caused an uproar in the whole world. Even Locks couldn't help but secretly marvel at the strength displayed by the black dragon Akunologia after seeing the battle in front of him. Such a strong person should not shrink back to the Dimension Retrograde, but should join our Locks pirates. And their every move seems to be entirely dictated by Dean Riding. Great, the strength of the world government is nothing more than that, they are not even the opponents of the retrograde dimension. 134 Linlin's Descendants Criterion. At the same time, Golden Lion was constantly cursing in his heart. Damn, Locks actually wants to poach the corner of the retrograde, it is simply fantastic. How could the relationship between Lousy and Dean Riding be beyond your imagination? After seeing this scene, Whitebeard couldn't help shaking his head. As the person who has had the most contact with Dean Riding, he is naturally more aware of how wonderful the many players under Dean Riding are. The personalities of these team members are all very weird, even weirder than many core cadres of the Locks Pirates. But the most different from the Locks Pirates is that everyone in the Dimension Retrograde seems to respect Dean Ruagong very much. Unlike the current Locks Pirates, most of the core cadres have long been dissatisfied with Locks. Moreover, Locke's behavior style is very domineering, and he doesn't consider other people's thoughts and concerns at all. It was precisely because of this that a little worry gradually arose in Whitebeard's heart. He is not so optimistic about the future of the Locks Pirates. And in fact it was exactly like this, the core cadres of the Lux Pirates were strong enough. But Locks is definitely not the best manager. If it weren't for the fact that Locks has the power to even destroy the entire world, I'm afraid these crew members would have been completely torn apart. And Locks himself is not good at planning, otherwise, their Locks Pirates will be stronger than now, and their territory will be even wider than it is now. On the side, Charlotte Linlin couldn't help but licked her lips, and then said, what an outstanding young man .. If possible, I really want to try its taste. While talking, Charlotte Linlin completely locked on the black dragon Akunologia in the picture. When hearing this, many cadres present could not help but shudder. The people, including the core cadre Captain John, couldn't help retreating towards the rear. Everyone understands that Charlotte Linlin's idea of wanting to have a large number of children may come up again. Some time ago, Charlotte Linlin didn't know why she went crazy, and suddenly frantically searched for all kinds of strong men, with only one purpose, and that was to have children with her. Advertisement. This crazy idea was naturally rejected by everyone. Seeing many of the cadres present staring at her with weird eyes, Charlotte Linlin said dissatisfiedly, I really don't know what you guys are thinking. Our ability to achieve today's strength shows that the blood in our bodies is extremely outstanding. The combination of two more outstanding bloodlines will naturally produce even more outstanding offspring. Why do you refuse such a good thing? In all fairness, Charlotte Linlin's figure in her youth was still very graceful, and her appearance was also outstanding. But Charlotte Linlin's crazy form and style made everyone uncontrollably stay away. The reason why Charlotte Linlin can become an absolute core cadre as a daughter is because this guy can even slaughter the entire subjugated country from top to bottom with a Napoleon sword in his hand. And things like this are just appetizers for Charlotte Linlin. Even though the rest of the Locke's pirates have plenty of blood on their hands, that doesn't mean they want to mess with Charlotte Linlin, the madwoman. Seeing that the expressions on everyone's faces remained unchanged, Charlotte Linlin couldn't help but let out a cold snort. Even Locks couldn't help frowning at this moment. Although he doesn't like Charlotte Linlin's form and style, but they, the Locke's pirates, have always had the unspoken rule that as long as their personal strength is strong enough, they can enjoy a higher position and status in the Locke's pirates. Right. And Charlotte Linlin also climbed up directly following this rule. Meanwhile, Naval Headquarters, Marine Marshal Bunye and Marine Admiral Kong gathered together. After seeing the corresponding situation in the picture in front of him, Bunye sighed heavily, and then said, "This group of guys from the world government are always so arrogant, they can't listen to the persuasion of others." Jiao Jiao resignation. If they had listened to our words earlier and made sufficient preparations, how could they have been forced to such an extent by the Dimension Retrograde guys? At this moment, the 3-5 Elders members on the battlefield have all lost consciousness or been suppressed. This situation is simply impossible for the world government to accept. And this matter has already made the world government lose all face. Kong on the side said in a deep voice, "There is no way to do this. If the people of the world government can change their arrogant attitude, I am afraid that all the celestial dragons will not be raised by them." 135 One Knife Style, Dharma Cut. When he heard the word celestial dragons, Marine Marshal Bunye couldn't help pinching his eyebrows. The fat pig-like bodies of the celestial dragons also appeared in his mind, and he couldn't help shaking his head. Bunye knew very well that the celestial dragons had already become a group of fat pigs who couldn't prepare for regular meetings. And that group of fat pigs had no chance of being rescued. On a certain unknown sea area, among the fleet of Luogia pirates. At this moment, Luogia had a complex look on his face and couldn't help but said, "It seems that we are still too young, the group of little guys in Dean Riding's hands. Their strength is really too strong, and we all missed it." Once, after people from Luogia pirates met Dean Riding and others, they wanted to directly invite Dean Riding to join Luogia pirates. For the Black Dragon and others under Dean Riding, they didn't care that much at all. The most important thing is that at that time, Hailong and others did not show too much strength at all. On this sea, everything is respected by 790's strength. When you weren't exposed at the time, the Luogia pirates naturally couldn't show much sincerity. Pluton Rayleigh pushed his glasses, and said with a smile, "The current dimension retrogrades have already become popular. After this incident is over, if they can leave the holy land of Mariejois safely, this group of little guys it will be out of control." Bullet on the side suddenly let out a burst of laughter, with a look of expectation in his eyes, and said, "I really hope they can leave safely, so that when we meet next time, I can talk to you. Let's see who has the stronger physique against the Black Dragon Akunologia." Bullet is a true fighting maniac. After seeing the powerful strength displayed by the Black Dragon Akunologia and the dragon body, the fighting desire in his heart babe has long been unable to be suppressed. In today's sea, the overall situation is so chaotic, so he can only become stronger by constantly challenging opponents who are stronger than him now. And an existence like the Dimension Retrograde who suddenly appeared and shocked the whole world in terms of strength has never appeared before. At this time, at the corner of the Luogia pirates, the eyes of the two trainee crew members revealed a look of envy. One of the little ghosts wearing a straw hat is the red-haired Shanks, and the other kid with a red nose is really Buggy the Clown. At this time, the two are still trainee crew members, and there is still a long time before they become core cadres. The clown Buggy couldn't help laughing and said, "One day in the future, I will definitely become stronger than those guys like Dean Riding. At that time, I will make the entire world government and marine unable to underestimate me." Advertisement. The red-haired Shanks on the side raised his mouth slowly and said, "It's good to have dreams, but it's not a good thing for you to set your dreams too high. Shanks, don't you believe I'm going to be strong in the future?" "Clown," Buggy said with some dissatisfaction. Shanks could only laugh helplessly. On the battlefield of the Holy Land Mariejois, the first-generation goosh in the hands of the bald old man lay directly across his chest, and then a bright light appeared. It's a pity that the potential shown by Buggy the Clown is far less than that of Shanks. At this time, the bald old man held the first-generation goosh in his hand, and his face became very ugly. Ulquiorra Cipher looked at the scene where the battle had already ended, and couldn't help curling his lips. Archeola Cipher directly looked up at the bald old man in front of him, and said, "It seems that we have to end the battle quickly. If we continue to be held back by you, I'm afraid we will be laughed at by others. Are these guys so eager to get out of the fight? With your current strength, I am afraid that you will not be able to catch up with me in your whole life." But the characters between Shanks and Buggy are completely two extremes. The bald old man flicked first-generation goosh lightly, and a sharp ray of light instantly spread to the surroundings. Clang. Shanks yearns for peace more often, but Buggy the Clown hides tyranny in his bones and wants to become a real big pirate. Everyone is also a trainee crew member of the Luogia pirates, and basically boarded here at the same time. The bald old man has been studying swordsmanship all his life, so during the battle just now, the bald old man directly blocked Ulquiorra Cipher's first return to the blade state with ease. "Boy, do you really think you've won me?" At this time, there was even a holy light on the face of the bald old man. Therefore, the relationship between the two is still very good. One knife flow, Dharma cut. 136 Black Sero Prestige. This guy had a bald head, but at this moment, he displayed an extremely terrifying ferocity. A huge phantom appeared behind the body of the bald old man. At the same time, the huge phantom directly merged into the inside of first-generation Goosh, and then flew forward at an extremely fast speed. The length of the stretch base issued by first-generation Onitsu directly exceeded 500 meters. And this scene, when it was directly presented in front of everyone through the world live broadcast, completely made everyone who was watching the live broadcast lose their voices on the spot. The faces of many pirates on the sea are full of sluggish expressions. Is this the strength of 5 elders? This year there is only one slash, and they can break through 500 meters. Such a slash can even directly destroy a small island. Didn't this guy show his real strength in the previous battle? What a frightening fellow. Can Ulquiorra Cipher hold it off? Is Ulquiorra Cipher coming to an end here? At the same time, everyone in the Naval Headquarters Collective is also paying attention to all this. Many Marines couldn't help clenching their fists. For them, the scene that was about to appear in front of them seemed to be saving their hearts, which were about to be completely desperate. As long as one of the 5 elders can directly kill his opponent, then there is still room for saving the face of Marine and world government. After all, 3 of the 5 elders have already lost. If the 4th place fails on the spot, then I am afraid that the carnival belonging to the pirates will really begin. On the battlefield at this moment, a sneer appeared on the corner of Ulquiorra Cipher's mouth. Does this level of attack also want to stop me? It's really whimsical. Then I saw Ulquiorra Cipher's body began to rise slowly, and the wings that appeared behind him immediately began to separate. A large amount of black mist directly hit Ulquiorra Cipher, and the wings on the left and right sides were separated from the middle, and Ulquiorra Cipher completely became a 4-winged existence. At the same time, the whites of this guy's eyes also turned completely green, and his pupils were like Hollow's mask. The arms and lower body are all covered with black feathers, the upper body is naked and white, and there is a long tail behind it. His hands have completely turned into sharp claws like bats. A strip-like black pattern appeared on the abdomen, and the overall appearance was extremely vicious. Advertisement. The 4-winged Ulquiorra Cipher began to flap its wings slowly, and the black breath surrounded the surface of his body. At this moment, Ulquiorra Cipher looked like a god descended from the world, the black object on the surface of the body even covered the entire sky. Ulquiorra Cipher slowly stretched out his right hand and nodded lightly towards the front. Black Sero. The next moment, a black sphere appeared directly on the surface of Ulquiorra Cipher's index finger. The black ball looks ordinary, but in the first space of time when it appeared, black cracks appeared one after another. The entire space seemed completely unable to bear the sudden appearance of such a huge force. Then, the 500-meter-long slash from the bald old man directly approached Ulquiorra Cipher. 0 for flowers. At the same time, Ulquiorra Cipher also directly sent the black ball in his hand forward. The black ball and the huge slash collided suddenly. Exclamation mark. A huge roaring sound appeared, and a large amount of energy aftermath began to spread to the surroundings. In a very short time, the energy aftermath directly covered a distance of 2 kilometers around. Exclamation mark. A heavy sound appeared, and a large amount of gunpowder smoke suddenly appeared above the ground 2 kilometers around. Next, as if the entire ground was under attack, a large amount of smoke suddenly appeared. Asterisk 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 asterisk. And at this time, Ulquiorra Cipher's body rose slowly from the large amount of black smoke, his eyes were full of indifference, and he didn't seem to have suffered any injuries at all. At this time, the bald old man looked at Ulquiorra Cipher in front of him with an ugly expression, only to see a huge hole appeared on the surface of his body. A large amount of blood has even been directly burned by the black Sero just now. How is this possible? In the end, the bald old man could only make such a murmur, and then his body fell heavily on the ground. At this time, although the bald old man fell directly to the ground, he did not die on the spot. Inside his body, there was still a very weak life wave slowly emerging. But after all, this guy is an old antique that has lived for hundreds of years. The life energy inside the bald old man's body is so rich that ordinary people can't even imagine. Ulquiorra Cipher just curled his lips slightly, his expression extremely disdainful, but he didn't go up to make up for the final blow. 137 Locke's decision. Because in the eyes of Ulquiorra Cipher at this moment, the bald old man has completely lost the corresponding qualifications for him to continue to shoot. Under such circumstances, the bald old man was completely shocked, and his consciousness was still very clear and smooth. At this time, this scene was clearly spread to every corner of the world through the live broadcast. When the 4th 5 Elders member was completely defeated, many pirates started to cheer wildly. The world government has completely declined, and it is impossible for them to continue to rule the world. This, 570, world will soon belong to us pirates, and this era also belongs to our pirate era. These guys from Dimension Retrograde are really strong, but where did they come from? Anyway, these guys did something that all of us simply couldn't do. When Dean Riding led the crowd to attack the Holy Land of Mariejois directly, and achieved brilliant results, many pirates have already started to crazily praise the Dimensional Retrograde. After all, they have thought about such evidence, but they simply don't have the strength to do it all. And Dean Riding is almost like an omnipotent existence in their minds, completely helping them realize what they have always wanted in their hearts. After all, in this era, even though there are Locke's pirates and Luogia pirates making waves above, but the strongest existence in the entire history of the world is still the world government and Marine. Therefore, many pirates were targeted by Marine crazily. The hatred between pirates and Marine has long since become irresolvable. Many pirates are crazy and want to kill everyone in the world government directly. And today, Dean Riding helped them realize this wish in front of them. This time, everyone in the Locke's pirates was completely silent. Even Locke's had an extremely complicated look in his eyes. Needless to say, Dean Riding's own strength, now, the powerful destructive power displayed by several of Dean Riding's subordinates can even be directly compared with the core cadres of Locke's pirate hall. Advertisement. If Locke's at that time could directly invite Dean Riding into the pirates, wouldn't it mean that all the hands under Dean Swiss Feng would also become members of the Locke's pirates? At that time, the Locke's pirates will also become unprecedentedly powerful. When thinking of this, Locke's couldn't help but took a deep breath and said, Edward, I know that your relationship with Dean Riding seems to be relatively close. Because of this, the Locke's pirates have been plundering for a long time, and the resources they have accumulated since then are very huge. If he is willing to join us, I am willing to directly make him a real core cadre. Although he said this, Whitebeard knew very well in his heart that it was impossible for Dean Riding to join the Locke's pirates. And his first target after going out to sea is Mariejois, so I really can't tell what's going on in this guy's mind. You know, many people around are now just ordinary members of the Locke's pirates. With so many pirates around, John couldn't help showing a jealous look on his face. Today's core cadres, Captain John, Edward, Charlotte Linlin and others, have not become real core cadres after many struggles on the edge of life and death. The power held by the core cadres of the Locke's pirates and their status above the sea are very precious. You know, today's Locke's pirates are the strongest existence in the entire sea. Do you think it's possible for us to invite Dean Riding into the Locke's pirates? And these people already had a great reputation above the sea. Now that Dean Riding hasn't even made any contribution to the Locke's pirates, Locke's couldn't wait to invite Dean Riding to join. However, they also understood very well that the powerful strength displayed by Dean Riding and Dean Riding's subordinates is completely qualified to do all these things. At that time, he was concentrating on manipulating his 3.2 tavern. Originally, I thought he would stay in the tavern forever, but I didn't expect him to go directly to sea recently. Countless pirates can't even join the Locke's pirates, let alone become a real core cadre. 0. When hearing this, the faces of many pirates around were full of astonishment. Whitebeard on the side frowned slightly, and then said, I'm really not sure about this, because the last time Shiki invited her, he had already declined. Today, the Locke's pirates, although they bear the name of the first pirates on the sea, their internal structure is already very chaotic. 138 Choose a way to die. And Dean Riding mentioned this matter with him and Golden Lion more than once. Therefore, it is even more impossible for Dean Riding himself to directly join the Locke's pirates who are like a mess. When he heard this, Locke's was startled and did not give up his last hope. Well, Edward, wait until the next time, you and I will meet him in person. He and his men are indeed worthy of my own visit. For Locke's, there are basically no newcomers worthy of her personal invitation. Even Charlotte, Linlin and others slowly rose from within the Locke's pirates after large-scale selection. And this time Locke's after many years. The decision to invite Dean Riding and his men in person surprised many of the surrounding pirates. After hearing Locke's request, Whitebeard could only nod slightly, but he was already thinking about how to tell Dean Riding about this matter. After all, if Dean Riding rejects Locke's invitation on the spot, I'm afraid a war between the two is absolutely unavoidable. Although the current dimension retrograde is already very powerful, Whitebeard does not think they can be compared with the Locke's pirates. There are too many monsters in the Locke's pirates, and the number of pirates at the grassroots level is also very large. Moreover, the strength of each official crew member of the Locke's pirates has a certain level. On the other side of the sea, Luogia pirates fleet. At this time, Luogia said with the same serious expression, Rayleigh, Copper Jabba, you guys should think about it carefully. I want the dimension retrograde to join us, the Luogia pirates. Such a strong person should not remain unknown all the time. Our two sides should join hands to create greater results. If the Luogia pirates and dimension rebels unite this time, they may easily overthrow the world government. And everyone in the Luogia pirates also thought of this scene, and couldn't help but start to look forward to it in their eyes. Pluton Rayleigh on the side couldn't help shaking his head. The strength shown by Dean Riding and his men is too strong. I don't think they are willing to be subservient to others. Even Copper Jabba on the side couldn't help but said, it's unlikely that someone from Dean Riding will be willing to join here. After all, didn't we invite him last time? Advertisement. Even so, Luogia still opened his mouth firmly and said, try again, we can give the dimension retrogrades a bigger bargaining chip, as long as they are willing to join us, we even have the ability to change the whole world. When everyone in the Luogia pirates heard this, the expressions on their faces gradually became serious. The Luogia pirates are fundamentally different from the rest of the pirates. Ulquiorra Cipher flapped his wings and came to Dean Riding's side, and said with a smile, Dean Riding, what should we do next, to completely turn the entire holy land of Mariejois upside down? When thinking of this, in Dean Riding's mind, he couldn't help but think of the vicissitudes of his face more than 260 years later, and couldn't help laughing out loud. But they never lost sight of their true purpose. Of course, all of this is mainly to make a strong response to the world government and marine to the island of Dora Vega. In the eyes of everyone, the dimensional retrograde is destined to be their partner. What's more, what if the world government is overthrown? At most, the whole world will fall into chaos again. The real fire of revolution has not yet appeared. Dean Riding doesn't have any idea of wanting to dominate the whole world, he just wants to keep getting stronger. I saw Ace Kano holding the magic axe Rita in his hand, and took a deep breath. Their real hobby is not killing, and looting, but using their own hands to go on the sea, constantly taking risks, and even opening a real era. Under such circumstances, Ulquiorra Cipher on the side showed a thoughtful look on his face, and did not continue to ask questions. You can choose a way to die, and I will try my best to fulfill you. Dean Riding shook his head with a smile, and said, don't worry, don't underestimate the world government, the real background of the world government, the power has not fully emerged yet. Now they are constantly getting stronger in order to overthrow the Locks pirates who are still above them. The battle between us is coming to an end. Today, the reason why everyone went directly to the Holy Land Mariejois after going out to sea was to allow them to show their powerful strength as quickly as possible. On the other side of the battlefield, with the passage of time, Ace Kano could clearly perceive that the noon sun was moving away from him. And this time, on the battlefield. Chapter 139 The Final Blow of Rita the Axe. Ace Kano looked at the curly-haired old man in front of him extremely proudly, completely ignoring him. Ace Kano and others actually don't have much concept of world government and five elders. From their point of view, this is just some opponent that Dean Riding found for them. At this time, the curly-haired old man's complexion also became very ugly. In the battle just now, he was basically about to display his full strength. However, even so, Ace Kano still seemed to be able to do a job with ease in the battle. This is a fact that is simply impossible for the curly-haired old man to accept. Coupled with the rest of the battlefield, many members of the five elders are constantly losing. This made the curly-haired old man feel uneasy. Although Dean Riding and others did not join other battlefields at this time, this situation still didn't make him feel a little crazy. Because this situation shows that the people of Dean Riding didn't take them seriously at all. The curly-haired old man couldn't help looking at the battlefield on the right. At this moment, the only battle that was still going on was that the two captains belonging to the CP organization were struggling against Tushan Yaya. At this time, Tushan Yaya is more like playing a game. If Tushan Yaya wants to end the battle in front of her, she can completely defeat the two captains of the CP organization in a very short time. And with curly hair at this time, the old man is also fully aware that the situation on the court is very unfavorable for their world government. However, at this time, he couldn't come up with any countermeasures. The haircut old man also fully realized that now, the Ace Kano he was facing was basically the best fighting environment he could come into contact with. Once the Black Dragon Akunologia and others on the side joined the battle at will. I'm afraid the curly-haired old man won't even have any chance to make a move. The curly-haired old man took a deep breath, and the muscles on the surface of his body began to bulge wildly. At this time, the face of the curly-haired old man gradually began to become clear, as if he was at least 20 years younger in an instant. Life returned. The next moment, the curly-haired old man even began to shake violently, and his whole body completely turned into a crescent moon like a slingshot. Advertisement. At the same time, the thick armament hockey was directly attached to it. At this time, the curly-haired old man was completely covered with a thick layer of armor. Whoosh. After the curly-haired old man's eyes completely locked on Ace Kano, his whole body rushed forward like a sharp sword. At the same time, Ace Kano raised his brows slightly, and he held the divine axe Rita tightly in his right hand. Finally, have you awakened with a complete determination? A weak person who has been lingering. Rita the axe, give him the final blow. Under such circumstances, the body of the haircut old man immediately came into contact with the attack surface of the divine axe Rita. On the other hand, the Black Dragon Akunologia curled his lips slightly, and said, I don't want to deal with Ace Kano in the government time. Ace Kano in this time period is a real weirdo. The scene shown by Ace Kano shocked everyone present. No wonder this guy can easily hold sunlight in his hands. Sure enough, he is the guy who is called the son of the sun. I am afraid that the sunlight has been completely integrated with his body. Hearing this, Dean Riding couldn't help but started laughing. It's too exaggerated. Has this guy been hiding his strength all along? In the eyes of many people who watched the live broadcast, the scene in front of them was extremely exciting. Dean Riding, who only weighed 1 pound, had an indifferent smile on his face, and then couldn't help but said, it's just past. It's not long before the bullish time. Ace Kano's strength is basically at its peak. Many pirates exclaimed on the spot. How the hell does this guy do it? How does he hold sunlight directly in his hands? The giant axe Rita was swung lightly by Ace Kano, and then hit the curly-haired old man in front very precisely. Black Dragon Akulonokia's own, with money, character is already proud enough, but there is no way to meet the version of Ace Kano who was the only one in the sky and earth at noon. At the same time, the huge axe held by Ace Kano completely turned into a huge golden light beam. Among Ace Kano's cognition at noon, besides the sun, he is probably the strongest. The burly Ace Kano actually directly held a beam of sunlight in his hand. And at this time, Ace Kano held the attached sunlight in his hand, and rushed forward with a huge axe and a fast speed. As the voice fell, a large amount of sunlight in midair began to fall crazily, and attached to the surface of Rita the axe. 140 The blessing of the sun. A sharp ray of light, carrying golden light waves, immediately exploded in the field. At this time, the curly-haired old man's body was completely covered. In the eyes of everyone, the voice of the curly-haired old man at this time has been completely enveloped. The golden light that bloomed in the midair even caused everyone's eyes to move slightly to the right. Everyone couldn't even clearly see the current physical condition of the curly-haired old man. The golden light wave has been spreading towards the surroundings. And at this time, under the sunlight, the residual energy seemed to be continuously strengthened. Under the action of many energies, the buildings near the battle scene of the two curly-haired old men were completely turned into powder in an instant. The golden energy seems to be able to kill all the people in these buildings. The scene soon showed an empty ground. A large number of buildings disappeared, leaving only layers of powder in place. When seeing this scene, all the pirates lost their voices. 330 inches what? It seems that the sunbeam is still adding new energy to the battlefield. Could it be that this guy can obtain a new energy supply under the sun's rays? Doesn't this mean that under sunny conditions, this guy's combat effectiveness can be infinitely strengthened? What's going on here? Is this guy really a child of the sun? Could it be that she can really absorb energy from the sun? The many pirates who saw this scene were completely stunned. Because even they can clearly see through the live broadcast that under the sunlight, Rita the axe seems to be continuously absorbing the corresponding energy. And the source of Ace Kano's power in this state seems to be endless. Under such circumstances, the dazzling light beam above the battlefield slowly disappeared. And what appeared in front of everyone at this time was a curly-haired old man who had completely fallen into a coma. And there was an astonishing scar on the curly-haired patriarch's chest, which was exactly the mark left by the god axe Rita on his body surface. Advertisement. If it wasn't because Ace Kano stopped directly at the last moment, the curly-haired old man's body would have been completely cut in half at this moment. At this time, Ace Kano shook his head slightly, glanced down with disdain, and then directly put away the god axe Rita. How dare you fight against the sun? If there is no sun, you are just a fool who lives in darkness forever. Swish. After the ridicule, Ace Kano also ignored the curly-haired old man in a coma, and instead came directly to Dean Riding's side. What do you mean, guy? It seems that you have a big opinion on me. The black dragon Akuno Nokia raised his eyebrows slightly. He would never easily reject any challenge that came to him. Ace Kano couldn't help laughing, and said, I can't wait to see my new bounty. A calm look appeared on Dean Riding's face, and then he said, Good job, Ace Kano. After this incident is over, your bounty should be strengthened for the second time. And such a number, for Ace Bath Kano, is not enough to satisfy him, and it is also unable to completely describe his own true strength. Although he didn't want to actively provoke Ace Kano in this state, he wasn't afraid of him at all. The eyes of the black dragon Akunology also fixed on Ace Kano in front of him. Anyway, all the jumping clowns on the battlefield have been cleaned up. Why don't we take advantage of this opportunity and have a good fight? At this time, after seeing the scene in front of him, Dean Riding shook his head helplessly, and said, You two, stop for a while. This is the holy land of Mariejois after all. And everything here is being broadcast live to the whole world. If you fight here, I'm afraid Dimensional Retrograde will become famous. The black dragon Akunology beside him couldn't help curling his lips, and made a disdainful sound. Happy to accompany you. Sure enough, Ace Kano, who was at 10 o'clock in the noon, had a very sensitive three-point view, so he immediately noticed the disdainful voice of the black dragon Akunology, and then turned his head suddenly. And I believe that this kind of fame must not be what you hope for. After all, Ace Kano at this time cannot be described with common sense. Except for Dean Riding who has the blessing of the system, Ace Kano at this time will not take anyone seriously. Before that, Ace Kano's bounty was only 365 million Baileys. The black dragon Akunology doesn't look down on Ace Kano at noon at all, but he won't easily conflict with Ace Kano. 141 Kong's ambition. Hearing this, Ace Kano raised his proud head and said directly, Since Dean Riding has already spoken, then I won't bother with this guy for the time being. The brilliance of the sun will still shroud the surface of this guy's body. Just when the black dragon Akunology was about to attack, Dean Riding grabbed his arm. Both Black Dragon and Ace Kano are extremely powerful. If they directly broke out on the scene, the situation will become very complicated. And it was because Dean Riding was on the scene at this time, otherwise there would be no second person who could directly prevent Ace Kano from breaking out on the spot at noon. On the other side, Senju Hashirama and others couldn't help shaking their heads. They have already had a clear understanding of Ace Kano's bad temper at noon. So just now, Senju Hashirama and the others chose to remain silent. But at this time, on the battlefield, only Tushan Yaya was left in the area where violent fluctuations were still occurring. At this time, all the members of the CP organization on Tushan Yaya's frontal battlefield had already entered the stage of exhaustion. Tushan Yaya treated the battle in front of her as a joke the whole time. Otherwise, it would be impossible to stop Tushan Yaya with only two Admiral-level CP team leaders. Tushan Yaya's style like a royal sister completely attracted the attention of everyone who was watching the live broadcast. I didn't expect that among the dimensional retrogrades, there would be such a top-ranking royal sister. It's a pity, this sister Yu's strength is too strong, a woman with this strength is beyond our imagination. Also, Tushan Yaya's personality seems to be very strange. I don't know what her fruit ability is. On the battlefield just now, Tushan Yaya has shown a very strange ice combat spell. But everyone is also very clear that spells of this level are definitely not Tushan Yaya's real strength, otherwise, the members of the CP organization would have directly defeated Tushan Yaya. Naval Headquarters Base. Marine Marshal Bunye's face became very heavy. The 5 Elders members have all failed. Could it be that the world government is really going to be completely defeated by the retrograde dimension in this battle? At the same time, the same idea kept happening in the hearts of many marine generals. At this moment, Kong standing on the side suddenly stood up and said, if the world government was really that simple, then they wouldn't have ruled the world for hundreds of years. Advertisement. Of course, no matter how you say it, the fact that the dimensional retrograde defeated the members of the 5 Elders has already become a fact. But how could the world government be defeated so easily? Kong has a blind confidence in world government. Of course, all of this is accumulated through various small details, and his self-confidence is rare and has a corresponding foundation. However, many marine generals, including Bunye, did not have that much trust in the world government. Bunye suddenly became the marshal of the marine, and he was also single-handedly promoted by the world government. Kong is very dissatisfied with the current marine executives. And all the endings that happen now are these guys' own fault. Before the dimension retrograde guy came, Bunye and Kong had already warned the world government about this. However, many members of the world government, including 5 elders, did not take the dimension retrograde in their eyes at all. One of them, Marine Admiral, suddenly said, no matter what the outcome of the matter is, this time, our marine finally did not suffer a major blow from it. Even if the world government wants to forcibly promote him, there is no possibility. The perfect person to be a marine marshal is Kong. Seeing this scene, Kong couldn't help frowning. But before that, Bunye never thought that he was qualified to be the marshal of marine. But at this time, Kong, as marine admiral, has too few attacks in his hands. If it weren't for the fact that what the former marine marshal Clay did was so absurd that the world government couldn't bear it, Bunye would not have directly ascended to the position of marine marshal so quickly. After all, marine is a huge collection, and the new marine marshal must conquer most of the people before he can really set foot on several positions. Point 00. At this moment, in Kong's mind, there was a sudden sound of the Zephyr Vice Admiral who was constantly fighting on the battlefield, and had already won the prestigious Zephyr Vice Admiral. Bunye doesn't have that much trust in the power of marine and world government. When hearing this, many marine generals present also breathed a sigh of relief. Afterwards, it is absolutely impossible for the world government to embarrass our marine with regard to this matter. 0 Looking for flowers. 142 World government's successor. Although Zephyr at this time is not comparable to Garp and Sengoku in terms of strength and reputation. But Kong admired Zephyr even more. Zephyr is a real person who rose from the humble beginnings, and also a real person who joined the marine training camp from a commoner and finally grew to where he is today. Every record of Zephyr is obtained from life and death struggles, and Zephyr also has loyal supporters among the marine group. This is something Sengoku and Garp can't compare at all. After all, Sengoku and Garp lack more experience rising from the grassroots. 283. At the same time, deep in the palace of the Holy Land Mariejois, Spandane, the boss of the CP spy agency, slowly walked out holding a small box in his hand. At this time, Spandane's face was full of anticipation. Even if the members of the 5 elders all fail, so what? The background of the world government is beyond the imagination of these pariahs. Dimension retrograde, are you ready? I will give you a real gift. Soon, Spandane walked directly into one of the small black houses, and sank directly into the depths of the ground along the elevator inside. At the same time, just as Dean Riding and others were preparing to continue deep into the Holy Land of Mariejois. They were very shocked to find that the guards in the entire holy place seemed to have all retreated, and there was no one around them. Seeing this scene, Dean Riding couldn't help but frown, and said, what's going on? Could it be that these people from the world government have decided to shrink the territory? But it should be impossible. After all, this is their base camp. It is impossible for them to completely abandon the Holy Land Mariejois. The thoughts in Senju Hashirama's brain began to run crazily. As the person who created the entire Konoha shinobi village, Senju Hashirama's thinking and strategy are naturally beyond doubt. Senju Hashirama said without hesitation, the world government will retreat everyone in their hands. There is only one possibility, and that is that these guys have prepared a powerful attack method to suppress us. The Black Dragon Akunologia on the side also said directly, things are getting more and more interesting. I really want to see what other methods people from the world government can come up with. Ace Kano on the side also looked expectant. In the battle just now, they didn't feel the joy of fighting at all. Advertisement. The strength shown by several members of 5 elders did not satisfy them. At this time, Dean Riding saw many excited subordinates beside him, and immediately shook his head helplessly. After all, these guys are the best in their respective worlds. In their worlds, there is probably nothing that they cannot defeat. And after coming to the pirate world, the powerful strength they showed can fully support their imagination and actions in this way. At the same time, many pirates who were watching the live broadcast were also full of astonishment. Are these guys from the world government completely afraid? Have they decided to give up the Holy Land of Mariejois to the Dimension Retrograde? This should not be possible. After all, for hundreds of years, the Holy Land of Mariejois has been the absolute core of the world government. That's right, the Holy Land Mariejois contains too many secrets of the world government, and they shouldn't be able to give up here easily. A certain area above the sea. Luo Jia's brows were also tightly frowned. What the hell are these guys from the world government doing? How could this group of people back down directly when facing the dimensional retrograde? If the strength of the world government is only shown to this extent, it is impossible for them to rule the world for hundreds of years. The Vice Captain Pluten Rayleigh on the side also pushed his glasses, and said, things are getting more and more interesting. It seems that people in the world government should really start to pay attention to dimension retrogrades. The members of the Dimension Rebels directly defeated the members of the Five Elders. The Five Elders are known to be the strongest fighting power, so it is normal for people in the world government to directly pay attention to the dimensional retrogrades. At this moment, Jabba on the side suddenly said, it seems that the dimension retrograde is going to be dangerous 1.6 this time. I think that the reason why the world government has shrunk all of their subordinates to another position is probably to reduce the corresponding losses in the next battle. When hearing this, everyone in the Luo Jia pirates was completely awakened. They suddenly realized that since the world government couldn't be defeated so easily by the rebels in the Second Garden, plus the members of the Five Elders have all been defeated, then, next, it is the most normal result for the world government to launch a strong counterattack. Point 143 The hereditary system of the world government. At the same time, everyone in the Lox Pirates is also paying attention to everything in front of them. At this time, Lox frowned tightly, and said directly, if the dimensional retrograde can survive the next blow, then the entire sea will also have their place. Before this battle, Dean Riding's bounty was only more than 500 million Baileys. And such a bounty is insignificant for the captain of the dimensional retrograde. And such a bounty is not enough to be surprising in that sea. Therefore, if the dimensional retrograde wants to go on, the bounty of Dean Riley as the captain must increase by leaps and bounds. And at the same time, the bounties offered by other members of dimensional retrograde also need to be further expanded. Although the bounty is to a certain extent, it is just the degree of Marine's hatred for pirates. But with the passage of time, more and more pirates have recognized the role of the bounty. Many pirates believe that the bounty is the criterion for judging whether the pirate is strong or not. After all, if one wants to obtain the corresponding bounty, in addition to one's own strength, one must also do things that are enough to be hated by the world government and Marine. And such a talent can have a place on the sea and become a real big pirate. At this time, Whitebeard looked at the live broadcast in front of him, a look of worry flashed in his eyes. Dean Riding, you must return safely. I'm almost running out of wine. Without your wine, the subsequent battles will not be any fun. You know, even if the current Lox pirates are so strong, they have never thought of directly attacking the Holy Land Mariejois. But today's dimensional retrogrades have directly implemented this idea. A look of worry also flashed across Golden Lion's face at this time. Golden Lion also had a deep understanding of the world government, so he couldn't help but start to feel anxious. Dean Riding, this time is really too impulsive. If the world government is really so easy to be overthrown, then many pirates would have already become small and attacked. If only a certain amount of pirate power was needed to overthrow the world government, the Lox pirates would have been able to raise their arms and led many pirates on the sea to start a crazy attack. For the pirates, they are already longing for the wealth accumulated in the Holy Land of Mariejois. Advertisement. The location of the Holy Land Mariejois is a real treasure for many pirates. If the strength gathered by all of them can destroy the Holy Land Mariejois, even if they know that there will be a huge danger in front of them, these pirates will definitely not back down. This is the crazy and scary thing about pirates. However, just because everyone understands that even if the number of pirates continues to increase, it is impossible to defeat the Holy Land Mariejois, and it is impossible to have a chance for the world government. So at this time, no pirates stood up and raised their arms, and no crazy pirates started to attack the Holy Land of Mariejois. At the same time, Dean Riding is happily picking up the many calling points on the scene. With the end of the battle with the Five Elders members, a large number of shining fragments fell from the ground. Soon, just when De Enrui was about to pick up all these glittering fragments, I saw that the whole ground suddenly began to tremble. The entire island of the Holy Land of Mariejois began to shake slightly. Then, within the most central palace of the Holy Land Mariejois, a group of dazzling rays of light suddenly appeared. At the same time, through the corresponding loudspeaker bug, Spandine's voice also began to be heard on the island. Dean Riding, and other members of Dimension Retrograde, since you dare to offend the Holy Land Mariejois, you must be mentally prepared to stay here forever. Do you really think that you have the chance to win now? A group of whimsical guys, you don't understand what real power is. Today, I want all of you dimensional retrogrades to stay on this island forever. Your bodies will completely turn into true energy in an instant, and the traces you left on this world will disappear completely in an instant. Hiss ha ha ha. Spandane, the head of the world government's spy agency, started laughing maniacally. The joy in Spandane's heart at this time was second only to the pleasure in the stage after he knew that his position could be directly passed on to his son. All positions in the world government are hereditary. Therefore, even if Spandane's son is a real waste, he can directly become the controller of the world government's spy agency after he becomes an adult. Point 144 The regretful fact. The huge organization world government has already been on the right track. Even if the boss of the corresponding department is a waste, the numerous grassroots staff below will organize the work of the entire department meticulously. It is precisely because of this that the huge war machine of the world government can enter the stage of high-efficiency operation at any time. And the whole world can be completely shrouded and controlled by the world government. Meanwhile, Dean Riding couldn't help frowning upon hearing this. What are these guys up to? And at this time, Senju Hashirama's face became very ugly, and he stared closely at the huge light group in the distance. I feel a very strong energy fluctuation from within, which is an energy level that even members of the Five Elders can't bloom at all. The Black Dragon Akunologia on the side also said with a vigilant expression, this time we are really going to be in trouble, it seems that this is the powerful attack they use against us. At the same time, Ace Kano said with great disdain, it doesn't matter if their attacks are powerful, Lita the Divine Axe will crush all the attacks. At this time, Ulquiorra Cipher directly grabbed Ace Kano helplessly. Otherwise, Ace Kano at this time may have turned into a reckless man and rushed directly into the depths of Mariejois. Even Senju Hashirama and the Black Dragon Akunologia sensed the strength of the energy ahead at the same time. It is conceivable that the response that the world government will make this time will be extremely powerful. And at this time, Dean Riding only belatedly noticed the huge energy fluctuations in front of him. A look of astonishment soon appeared on Dean Riding's face. Damn it, can't my observation hockey even sense the presence of these energies? Although Dean Riding's observation hockey has been on the right track, but because the cultivation level is not Grandmaster, so he can't even perceive the male area hidden in the white light in the distance. Even the people who were watching the live broadcast thought it was just a decoration made by the world government when they saw this huge white light group. However, as time goes on, the entire island of the Holy Mariejois is still shaking. And the temperature in the area where the huge white light group was located also began to rise crazily. At the same time, the white light group also began to expand continuously, and finally, completely occupied the entire sky. Advertisement. Looking from a distance, the entire island seems to have been completely covered by white light bullets. At the same time, an extremely huge pressure also began to spread to the surroundings. And at this time, everyone who was watching the live broadcast fully realized the terrifying energy contained in the white light group. Damn, what the hell is this? What? Why can such terrible energy suddenly gather in a palace? What is hidden in this palace? Could it be that there is a real monster deep in the palace? In the eyes of everyone, one can clearly see the white light group slowly rising from the top of the palace. And until this moment, there is still a large amount of energy constantly gathering towards the top of the palace. At the same time, many pirates on the sea are also paying attention to the scene in front of them. Inside the Hive Island, the headquarters of the Locke's pirates. Locke's face became very serious, and he said slowly, it really is worthy of the world government, but it has already shown this level of attack just when facing the dimensional retrograde. Even Locke's at this time, when faced with this level of attack, did not dare to completely ignore it, and must immediately enter a corresponding defensive posture. On the other hand, Whitebeard and Golden Lion Shiki were tense, eager to join the battlefield directly on the spot. Damn it, I'm afraid these things are really getting too big. Whitebeard, who has always been a character, couldn't help cursing secretly, wishing to go back in time, and then let him personally stop the crowd of dimension retrogrades from attacking the holy place Mariejois. And at this time, the faces of many cadres of the Locke's pirates showed extremely regretful expressions. With a huge axe on his back, Silver Axe couldn't help but shook his head and said, it's a pity, the potential contained in the bodies of these fellows of dimensional retrograde is very powerful, but it's a pity that they can't continue to become stronger at all. Akoku shook his body slightly, and said, I thought I would have a chance to fight the Black Dragon Akunologia in close quarters, it seems that the battle between the two of us is destined to be an unfulfilled regret gone. At this time, the eyes of Captain John, who was fighting with a flintlock gun, locked his eyes on the huge white light group in the live broadcast screen, and his expression was extremely shocking. 145 days of endless road. The trajectory of this kind of energy should not be a fighting move played by a normal person. There must be a special combat weapon hidden in this palace. What exactly is this weapon? At this moment, Locke's eyes flickered slightly, and then he slowly said, if I guess correctly, the one hidden under the palace is probably Uranus, one of the ancient weapons. On the other side of the sea, everyone in the Red Hair Pirates was also guessing the true identity of this weapon. And at this time, Luogia also put doubts on Uranus for the first time. In this world, there has always been a real ancient weapon. According to legend, these three ancient weapons all have the ability to destroy the entire world. And Uranus is the most powerful existence among the three ancient weapons. At this moment, Pluton Rayleigh frowned tightly and asked, Uranus. Could it be that this weapon has always been in the hands of the world government in 927? No wonder we have never seen this weapon on the sea. Jaw on the side couldn't help curling his lips, and said, it's also a good thing we haven't seen this kind of weapon, otherwise we might have been annihilated by the enemy long ago. At this time, Bullet shouted excitedly, the intensity of this attack is really terrifying. I don't know if my physical strength can support me to survive this attack. If I am lucky enough to face this weapon next time, I will definitely try it. Hearing this, Luogia shook his head helplessly and said, let's forget it. I don't want to have any interaction with this weapon. Just don't know if Dean Riding and the others can survive this attack intensity. When hearing this, the entire Luogia pirate group fell into silence. Although Dean Riding and others rejected their invitation last time, the wine that Dean Riding handed over to everyone has completely resolved the grievances between the two parties. After all, many cadres of Luogia pirates have all been influenced by Luogia's character, and the carelessness and generosity hidden in his bones are undoubtedly revealed. At the same time, just when people all over the world were guessing what kind of existence and power this attack was, it came out. At this time, Yin Yan's voice sounded again. Damn weaklings, today I will make you understand. All lifeless pirates around the world who are watching the live broadcast, please listen to lousy. Advertisement. This level of attack is nothing more than the strength displayed by Uranus in its normal attack form. You guys, you should never try to resist the world government. The strength of our world government is beyond your imagination. Destroy, Dimension Walker. At the same time, the huge white light group also entered the final preparation stage. The energy inside the white light cluster also began to vibrate violently. Obviously, this powerful attack can no longer be maintained. And Spandane's words completely set off an uproar all over the world. Damn it, it's actually Uranus, an ancient weapon that exists in legends. It's no wonder that this weapon is only spread in legends. It turns out that it has always been controlled by the world government. Is this really just the normal attack form of Uranus? Why am I not convinced? Damn it, the people in the holy land of Mariejois were less than anxious, because they were already prepared to deal with the attacking posture of the dimension retrograde. Quote. At this time, the members of the 5 elders on the battlefield had already been rescued. After all, after Dean Riding and others moved forward, the people of the world government actually prepared a corresponding attack plan. Naturally, it is impossible to watch the 5 elders be destroyed in a row. At the same time, Dean Riding said with a heavy expression, everyone, I'm afraid we're really in big trouble this time. Even Ace Kano was completely silent at this moment. He does have a powerful attack stance, but in terms of defense, he can't compare with the Black Dragon and others beside him. And now that noon has passed, Ace Kano is not at his peak at the moment, and his physical fitness cannot be compared with that at noon. At this time, the strength of Ace Kano is far inferior to that of the Black Dragon Akunologia and others. Senju Hashirama on the side suddenly said, Dean Riding, have you forgotten? Hearing Senju Hashirama's words, a dazed look flashed across Dean Riding's face. There is no unparalleled road. Thinking of Dean Riding's body here, he couldn't help but tremble with excitement.